Namaskaram and welcome to everyone who is present today. My name is Ruchika Anil and I welcome you all to the third episode of our Naya Bharat e-series on behalf of Participation in School Education, SEG of Unnat Bharat Abhiyan, IIT Delhi, Ministry of Education. Before we start, we have a few housekeeping rules which need to be followed. Participants joining us on the WebEx should not unmute their mic until and unless asked for. For the participants who are joining us through YouTube, you may ask questions from the speakers by posting on the YouTube chat box along with your names. To begin our session, let me introduce you to Professor Nomesh Bolia, the person behind this extraordinary series. Professor Nomesh Bolia is a professor in the Department of Mechanical Engineering at IIT Delhi, with a BTech from IIT Bombay and PhD in Operations Research from UNC Chapel Hill in the US. His research and innovation interests are in operations research and its applications to public systems, policy, and governance, especially in areas such as school education. He is the national coordinator of the Unnat Bharat Abhiyan's subject expert group on participation in schools. Professor Bolia is the recipient of several national international awards and grants such as Indo-US Science and Technology Forum's Public Health Fellowship and DAD Research Stays. He has published several papers in international journals of repute, consulted many companies in the public-private sector in India, and mentored startups in the broad domain of operations research. His vision and commitment to the area of industrial engineering and operations research have been recognized by the Government of India by nominating him as a member of the Board of Governors of the National Institute of Industrial Engineering, India's premier institute in this area. Professor Nomesh is also the national coordinator of the ASEAN PhD Fellowship Program of the Government of India, which aims to harness the potential of India-ASEAN cooperation through education and research. I now request Professor Bolia to kindly introduce us to the Naya Bharat e-series and take us further towards the webinar.
Thank you, Ruchika. Sarvebhyah Namo Namaha. A very warm welcome to everyone. Thank you so much for joining us again at the third edition of the Naya Bharat e-series. We often try to learn about various things from across the world. And while we do that, Finland comes to our mind, Netherlands come to our mind, many faraway lands come to our mind. Often, maybe inadvertently, the motherland is what is forgotten or ignored. The Naya Bharat e-series is our attempt to mine jewels in the area of school education from all over the country. That includes individuals, organizations, schools, institutions, several experiments that have been going on for a long time, and bring them before you. And eventually, after the e-series is over, to follow up and see how we can conduct further workshops and take the idea forward to implementation on the ground, in the schools, in the villages, towns, and cities of our country. The Unnat Bharat Abhiyan is a fantastic idea. It is, on one hand, such an obvious idea that it is surprising it was not thought of in the last 70 odd years of our Indian independence. Connecting the energy and expertise of higher education institutions across the country to the villages and other areas of our country that need it is something that should have been done. Probably it occurs on the very first day we founded our IITs and other institutions. While efforts did go on, Unnat Bharat Abhiyan is a fantastic initiative to put all of this coherently into a framework and make sure that the energy and expertise that abounds actually reaches every nook and corner of the country. Professor V.K. Vijay, the national coordinator of the Unnat Bharat Abhiyan, is here with us, and he will take us, brief us about the Unnat Bharat Abhiyan very soon. I'm going to introduce him. But this series is inspired by the ideas that have been prevailing in the Unnat Bharat Abhiyan. And as one of the subject expert groups in the area of school education, it was our mandate as I said, to bring these jewels in front of you and see how things can be taken forward. And these jewels can actually be used for changes on the ground and for implementation of the new education policy. Let me introduce you, let me take you through what happened over the last two editions before I introduce you to the session which is going on right now. We started off with an introduction and inaugural and talked about the importance, the need behind early education in mother tongue or the local language of a child. It was pointed out to us by highly acclaimed experts, both in principles as well as practice, that not only does it help to learn subjects, it significantly helps in personality development if you do early education in the mother tongue. In fact, it was pointed out in the very first webinar that even if you want to learn English or any other foreign language for that matter, starting off in the mother tongue actually might be helpful. Because when you're beginning off, you're not only learning something, you're also learning how to learn itself. And while you're doing that, while you're indulging yourself in such a fundamental process, you can't really be loaded with a language which you don't even understand at the first go. It was beautifully pointed out using several studies, principles, and of course, a practitioner in the form of a principal of one of the most prestigious schools, not only Delhi, but also all over the country, as to how they implement this idea very beautifully and churn out products, alumni of their school, who every school would be envious of and would be proud of. We then moved on to the brilliant idea of peer learning by Vande Mataram Foundation in Telangana. They have been doing wonderful experiments on how they call it triple L, logic, language, and uh, how it can all be used, how it can be done, and in a way in which peer learning can happen. So teacher is not only thing, teacher is a facilitator, but then kids can also learn from each other. The idea was beautifully illustrated by them in their methodology. They talked about it in detail. And of course, the details of the webinar are all available for all of you to see. Today's session is about Sanskrit. Of course, our keynote speaker and our speaker, my colleague from IIT Roorkee, will give you more details. I don't want to eat into their portion right now. But what I do wanted to say in my initial remarks is, first of all, it is obvious to anybody who has been living in our country for some time that even if they don't really know Sanskrit as well, everybody connects to it. So, for example, the motto of many IITs, the names of many of our government schemes in various sectors, they're all out and out Sanskrit names. So people want to be connected. People want to feel Sanskrit. For sure, that is evident everywhere. How wonderful would it be if people even came to know Sanskrit? If they could understand Sanskrit, if they could mine all the knowledge that is available in Sanskrit. It is considered as a treasure trove of untapped knowledge. Our Honorable Vice President, Shri Venkaiah Naiduji, has said that the heritage of knowledge that our ancient scholars left for us is in Sanskrit alone. He probably meant that a bulk of it is in Sanskrit. The new education policy also acknowledges this. Sanskrit has been given a very special place, and I quote from the policy: the importance, relevance, and beauty of the classical language and literature of India cannot be overlooked. Sanskrit, while also an important modern language mentioned in the 8th schedule of the Constitution of India, possesses a classical literature that is greater in volume than that of Latin and Greek put together, containing vast treasures of mathematics, philosophy, grammar, music, politics, medicine, architecture, metallurgy, drama, poetry, storytelling, and more, written by people of various religions, as well as people who are not really religious, and by people from all walks of life and a wide range of socioeconomic backgrounds over thousands of years. We hope that it will indeed be offered at least as an option at various levels of school and even as a higher education, as an important enriching option for students, including as an option in the three language formula. It'll be taught in ways that are interesting and experiential, as well as contemporarily relevant, including the use of Sanskrit knowledge systems, and in particular through phonetics and pronunciation. Sanskrit textbooks at the foundational and middle school level may be written in simple standard Sanskrit to teach Sanskrit through Sanskrit and make its study truly enjoyable. Sanskrit, we hope, will become a natural part of a holistic multidisciplinary higher education as well, if a student so chooses. For teachers, the NEP says, and again I quote, Sanskrit teachers in large numbers will be professionalized across the country in mission mode through the offering of a 4-year integrated multidisciplinary B.Ed dual degree in education and Sanskrit. Now, the NEP says it all, and our speakers today have much more to add on this topic. So, without further ado, let me begin the webinar by first welcoming Professor Vijay to put forth his remarks as the National Coordinator of the Unnat Bharat Abhiyan. Professor Vijay Virendra Kumar Vijay is highly acclaimed and internationally known professor in the technologies of biogas and other rural technologies. He works as a chair professor at the Center for Rural Development at IIT Delhi. He holds a Bachelor of Engineering and Master of Engineering in Renewable Energy Sources from the College of Technology and Agricultural Engineering, Udaipur, and a PhD from IIT Delhi. His concepts on linking higher educational institutes for village development and biogas purification and bottling technology were well adapted by the Government of India and were launched as programs by the concerned ministry in the government. His team, Professor Vijay and his team, has also been there with the Unnat Bharat Abhiyan from the beginning, and the program was launched by the Government of India in 2014. I believe Professor Vijay will delve into it in more detail in his address. He has more than 30 years of experience in higher education with a multidisciplinary approach and works with diverse. He has about 150 publications in journals and conferences, 7 books, and a lab manual to his credit. He is a fellow of the Indian Society of Agricultural Engineers and Institution of Engineers India, and life member of the National Academy of Science in India, and of course, several other scientific and professional bodies. He has attended more than 100 national and international conferences and is also a member of many national and international
ठीक
expert
है बहुत
committees. I welcome Professor Vijay and request him to kindly present his opening remarks. Professor Vijay.
yeah I am very happy to be part of this particular webinar on Sanskrit education for our school students in the country. Professor Nomesh Bolia has already enumerated that how important is Sanskrit for all of us, that all our ancient literature, all our ancient scholars, all our technologies, all walks of life, whether it is poetry or drama or politics or medicines or technology, were in the part of Sanskrit, in the Sanskrit literature. और मुझे बताते हुए ये बड़ी खुशी है कि आप देखिए कि जब नालंदा विश्वविद्यालय पूरी दुनिया का सिरमौर विश्वविद्यालय था, जबकि पूरी दुनिया कोई विश्वविद्यालय के बारे में जानती नहीं थी और कहीं कहीं विश्वविद्यालय भी होते हैं, पूरी दुनिया के लोग चल के नालंदा आते थे और उस समय जो लिटरेचर होता था वो हाथ से लिखा जाता था, वो पूरा पूरा संस्कृत में उसकी मैन्युस्क्रिप्ट से तैयार हुई और वो वर्बली याद करते थे। आप देखिए कि सारे जितने भी हमारे चाहे वेद हों, उपनिषद हों, ग्रंथ हों, सारे लोग, सारे स्कॉलर्स उसको मुंह से याद करते थे, जुबानी याद रखते थे और वो जुबानी ट्रेडिशन से आगे चलता था। उन्नत भारत अभियान जो कार्यक्रम, जैसे अभी प्रोफेसर नौलमिया बता रहे थे बोलिया जी, कि 2014 में हमारा जो सेंटर फॉर रूरल डेवलपमेंट एंड टेक्नोलॉजी IIT दिल्ली में है, पिछले 30-40 सालों से हम लोग सोच रहे थे कि किस तरह से हमारा जो एजुकेशन सिस्टम है वो सोसाइटी के लिए ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा यूज़फुल बने, ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा प्रोडक्टिव बने। और जो IIT सिस्टम है पर्टिकुलरली वो या अभी जो एजुकेशन सिस्टम है उस सिस्टम में सोसाइटी के साथ लिंकेजेस बहुत कम रहते हैं। जैसे IIT कैंपस है, दूसरे कोई यूनिवर्सिटी का कैंपस है, कोई कॉलेज का कैंपस है, कैंपस की बाउंड्री वॉल होती है, उसमें स्टूडेंट पढ़ते हैं। बाउंड्री वॉल के बाहर भी कोई अगर गांव है, कोई मोहल्ला है, कोई सोसाइटी है, तो हम हमारे गेट पे सिक्योरिटी गार्ड बैठा हुआ था, हम उसको अंदर नहीं आने देते। अरे भाई, आप नॉलेज के प्रदाता हो, आपको आपके बाहर रहने वाले पड़ोसी के साथ अगर आपका संबंध नहीं है तो फिर किस काम की आपकी ज्ञान है, विद्या है, वो किसी काम की नहीं है। उनको लगता ही नहीं है कि कैंपस की जो बाउंड्री है उसके बाहर जो सराउंडिंग विलेजेस हैं उनके साथ आपका कोई कनेक्ट है। आपकी न फैकल्टी उनके लिए काम करती है, ना आपके स्टूडेंट उनके लिए काम करते हैं। हमारे जो स्कॉलर पीएचडी करते हैं वो ये देखते हैं कि हमारे कितने पेपर पब्लिश हो गए हैं, लाइब्रेरी में थीसिस जमा हो गई है, और बस पेपर के आधार पे हमें आगे बढ़ते जाना है। जबकि उसका वास्तव में कितना उपयोग सोसाइटी के लिए, समाज के लिए, आम लोगों के लिए हो पाएगा, ये कहना बड़ा मुश्किल है। तो ये सारी चीज़ें हम जब देख रहे थे तो हमें लगा कि ये हमारी एजुकेशन सिस्टम में कुछ ना कुछ इम्प्रूवमेंट होना चाहिए। और क्योंकि हम लोग आईआईटी से डिपेंड करते थे तो हमने सोचा कि पहले आईआईटी सिस्टम थोड़ा सुधरना चाहिए, कि हम लोग लोगों के साथ कनेक्ट हों, सोसाइटी के साथ कनेक्ट हों, हमारे स्टूडेंट, हमारे पीएचडी, हमारे रिसर्च, वो भी लोगों के साथ कनेक्ट होगा, तभी हमारे ज्ञान की कोई उपयोगिता है। दूसरा ये था कि जो हमारा सिस्टम पिछले 70 सालों में बना शिक्षा प्रणाली का, वो ये था कि एग्जाम बेस्ड सिस्टम हो, कि कोई भी आदमी आए, एडमिशन ले, किताबें पढ़े, एग्जाम दे, एग्जाम में पास हो जाए, डिग्री मिल जाए, और वो डिग्री के आधार पर उसको फिर नौकरी मिले। जबकि उसके ज्ञान की कितनी उपादेयता है उस पर हम लोगों ने कभी गंभीर चिंतन नहीं किया। हमारे जितने भी मैकेनिक हैं, कारीगर हैं, मिस्त्री हैं, पूरी दुनिया में जो हमारा ज्ञान का भंडार रहा, हमारा देश विश्वगुरु रहा, सोने की चिड़िया रहा, उसमें आपने देखा होगा कि चाहे ढाका की मलमल हो, चाहे सलीम की स्टील बन रही हो, तो ढाका की मलमल ऐसी थी कि पूरी दुनिया की राजकुमारियां, महारानियां उसके एक छोटा सा वस्त्र प्राप्त करने के लिए तरसती थी। सलीम की, जो तमिलनाडु में सलेम है, वहाँ की जो स्टील बनती थी 17, 18, 19 सेंचुरी तक, आप देखिए कि यूके में सर्जिकल इक्विपमेंट कोई भी बनता था तो वो सलीम से स्टील इंपोर्ट करते थे। इसका मतलब ये था कि हमारी जो स्टील की क्वालिटी थी कितनी सुपीरियर थी। अगर ये आपने देखा होगा कि कुतुब मीनार के बाहर जो लोह स्तंभ है, उसकी मेटलर्जी आप देखिए कि अभी तक दुनिया खोज नहीं पाई है कि उसमें कौन कौन से मेटल का क्या कॉम्बिनेशन है। इसका मतलब ये कि साइंस और टेक्नोलॉजी में भी हमारा ज्ञान अथाह था। और एक और बात मैं कहना चाहता हूँ कि 17वीं 18वीं शताब्दी के शुरुआत तक इकोनॉमी का भारत का हिस्सा था 1/3, और आज हम कहाँ पहुंच गए हैं, ग्लोबल इकोनॉमी में हमारा हिस्सा 7% के लगभग है। इसका मतलब ये था कि जो हमारा ज्ञान है, हमारी जो सिस्टम था, हमारी टेक्नोलॉजी थी, हमारी एजुकेशन थी, वो इतनी रिलीवेंट थी कि उससे पूरी दुनिया को फायदा होता था। और हम जो जिस फिलोसफी में बिलीव करते हैं वो है वसुदेव कुटुंबकम, सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः, सारी दुनिया सुखी हो। हम अपने लिए नहीं सोचते, हम सारी दुनिया के लिए सोचते हैं। पूरी परिवार है, वो हमारा मित्र है, वो हमारा घर है। हम ये सोचे, हम प्रकृति को भी पहले प्रार्थना करते हैं कि हम एक पेड़ पत्ता तोड़ के आपसे, नदी में उतरने से पहले हम लोग पहले उसको प्रणाम करते हैं कि मैं आपके यहाँ स्नान कर रहा हूँ तालाब में या नदी में, तो पहले मैं आपको प्रणाम करता हूँ। सुबह जब हम बिस्तर से उठते हैं तो जमीन पे पैर रखने से पहले जमीन को प्रणाम करते हैं कि हमें क्षमा करना, हम मैं आप पे पैर रख रहा हूँ। ये हमारी फिलोसॉफी है, और संस्कृत से बढ़िया इसका ज्ञान और किस में हो सकता है। तो उन्नत भारत अभियान में यही सारी सोच के साथ हमने सोचा कि किस तरह से जो नई मॉडर्न टेक्नोलॉजी है वो भी लोगों तक पहुंचे, और जो लोगों के पास जो ट्रेडिशनल विजडम है, जो नॉलेज है, वो हमारे स्टूडेंट्स को प्राप्त हो। तो इस तालमेल को बैठाने के लिए हमने इस कार्यक्रम की कल्पना की, और भारत सरकार ने इसको स्वीकारा, और इसको एक राष्ट्रीय कार्यक्रम के रूप में हमारी शिक्षा मंत्रालय ने शुरू किया। और क्योंकि आईआईटी दिल्ली की ये कल्पना थी और उन्होंने दिया, तो उन्होंने कहा कि ये आईआईटी प्रोग्राम है तो आईआईटी इसको कोऑर्डिनेट करे पूरे देश भर के लिए, तो तब से आईआईटी दिल्ली इसको कोऑर्डिनेट भी कर रहा है। मुझे बताते हुए बड़ी खुशी है कि आज हम पूरे देश भर में 2600 से ज़्यादा कॉलेजेज में, 14,000 गाँवों में उन्नत भारत अभियान कार्यक्रम कर रहे हैं। लगभग सभी आईआईटी, एनआईटी, आईसेट्स, आईआईएम, एम्स, एग्रीकल्चर इंस्टीट्यूट, दूसरी एकेडमिक यूनिवर्सिटीज, सभी इसका पार्ट हैं। और अभी जो माननीय मंत्री महोदय ने करीब महीने भर पहले इसका रिव्यू मीटिंग किया उन्नत भारत अभियान का, 2 घंटे की मीटिंग में उन्होंने कहा कि आने वाले समय में, अगले 5 साल या 10 साल में किस तरह से जो देश भर में जितने 40,000 कॉलेजेस हैं वो सभी उन्नत भारत अभियान के साथ संलग्न हों, और जो 2.5 लाख ग्राम पंचायत हैं वो सारी ग्राम पंचायतें उन्नत भारत अभियान की कॉलेजेस के साथ मिलके काम करें, ताकि जो देश में आत्मनिर्भर भारत की जो हम प्रधानमंत्री कल्पना कर रहे हैं कि किस तरह से गांव-गांव अगर आत्मनिर्भर बन जाएगा तो देश अपने आप आत्मनिर्भर बन जाएगा। जब और गांव आत्मनिर्भर कैसे बनेगा? जब हमारी मॉडर्न टेक्नोलॉजी, मॉडर्न एग्रीकल्चर, मॉडर्न सिस्टम, मॉडर्न साइंस एंड टेक्नोलॉजी वहां पहुंच जाएगी। गांव से किसी को विस्थापित होकर शहर नहीं आना पड़ेगा। गांव में ही रोजगार भी उपलब्ध होंगे, कनेक्टिविटी भी उपलब्ध होगी, वहाँ की स्कूल एजुकेशन भी बहुत अच्छी होगी, वहाँ का सारा कार्यक्रम अच्छा होगा। तो ऑटोमेटिकली फिर गांव से लोग शहर को नहीं जाना पड़ेगा। और उन्नत भारत अभियान की कोशिश रहेगी कि आने वाले 10 वर्ष में हम लोग किस तरह से वापस रिवर्स माइग्रेशन की ओर मुड़ जाएं। गांव संपन्न बने, गांव आत्मनिर्भर बने, गांव के लोगों को शहर आने की जरूरत नहीं पड़े, तो नेचुरली वापस रिवर्स माइग्रेशन शुरू होगा कि कोई शहर में नहीं रहना चाहेगा कि शहर में इतना पोल्यूशन है, इतना कंजेशन है, इतना मारामारी है, तो फिर क्यों कोई शहर में रहना चाहेगा? हर आदमी ये चाहेगा कि मैं गांव में शांति के साथ रहूं। इस कल्पना के साथ ये उन्नत भारत अभियान शुरू हुआ, और इसकी जो 13 हमारे पास सब्जेक्ट एक्सपर्ट ग्रुप्स हैं, उन 13 सब्जेक्ट एक्सपर्ट ग्रुप्स में एक एक्सपर्ट ग्रुप है ये स्कूल एजुकेशन, हाउ वी कैन रीओरिएंट अवर स्कूल एजुकेशन सिस्टम टू प्रोवाइड लीडरशिप टू द स्टूडेंट्स। और स्टूडेंट जो स्कूल में पढ़ते हैं, आप देखिए कि हमारा फोकस है जो हमारे गवर्नमेंट के गाँव के अंदर स्कूल हैं, जो बड़े शहरों में पब्लिक स्कूल हैं या प्राइवेट स्कूल हैं, उनकी बात हम नहीं कर रहे। हम उस बात कर रहे हैं कि वहाँ के जो टीचर्स हैं उनको कैसे हम एम्पावर करें, वहाँ के जो स्टूडेंट्स हैं उनको कैसे एम्पावर करें। मैं एक इस बारे में एक उदाहरण देना चाहूँगा कि उन्नत भारत अभियान IIT दिल्ली ने कुछ गाँव को हमने गोद में लिया, भाई हम इन पे काम करेंगे और इनके साथ किस तरह से एक मॉडल विलेज हम बना पाएँ उसके लिए हमने काम शुरू किया। तो हमने उत्तराखंड में देहरा हरिद्वार में कुछ गांव और आगरा डिस्ट्रिक्ट में कुछ आंवलखेड़ा और 4-5 गांव की, जब हम करीब 4 साल पहले मैं आगरा गया और वहाँ डिस्ट्रिक्ट कलेक्टर के साथ हमारी मीटिंग हुई कि इन गांव में हम लोग काम करेंगे, तो उनका एक ही प्रश्न था कि आप सब कुछ पीछे सब छोड़ दीजिए, आप ये कर दीजिए कि मेरे इन 5 गाँव में जो आप लोग लेने वाले हैं, इनमें जो गवर्नमेंट स्कूल हैं, उन गवर्नमेंट स्कूल के बच्चों को योग्य बना दीजिए आप, कि वहाँ के टीचर रेगुलरली आएँ, उनको पढ़ाएँ, और वो बच्चे वहाँ के जो प्राइवेट स्कूल में पढ़ रहे हैं या और कहीं पढ़ रहे हैं, उनसे भी ज़्यादा ऊपर स्तर उनका हो जाए। अगर ये कर देंगे तो मैं मानूंगा कि उन्नत भारत हो गया मेरा देश का। तो आज इसी थीम को लेके प्रोफेसर नोमेश बोलिया देश में उतरे हुए हैं कि किस तरह से हमारे स्कूल एजुकेशन सिस्टम को हम वापस वो उस स्तर पर ले आए जिससे कि गांव में जो स्कूल है, चाहे कस्बे में स्कूल है चाहे शहर में स्कूल है, वहाँ के बच्चे में यह हो कि हाँ पढ़ लिख के मैंने पढ़ लिखने के बाद मेरे को चाहे BA करना हो या BCom करना हो या BSc करना हो या करना हो, पोस्ट ग्रेजुएशन करना हो, और उसके बाद क्या करेंगे ये ढूंढना पड़ता है। जबकि नई एजुकेशन पॉलिसी में ये है कि उसको ज्ञान का अपने आप विकास हो और ज्ञान इतना अर्जित हो जाए कि उसका कौशल भी अर्जित हो जाए, तो वो नौकरी ढूंढने नहीं निकले, फिर वो नौकरी देने के लिए निकले, अपना काम करने के लिए निकले। तो उसकी पढ़ाई पूरी हो, पढ़ाई के साथ उसमें इतना ज्ञान विकसित हो जाए कि उसको नौकरी ढूंढने की जरूरत नहीं पड़े। और यही हमारे देश की, हमारे आत्मनिर्भर भारत बनने के लिए और उन्नत भारत की कल्पना है कि ज्ञान के साथ कौशल भी विकसित हो और कौशल के साथ हमारा देश आत्मनिर्भर बने, हमारे गांव आत्मनिर्भर बने। मैं आशा करता हूं कि अगर आप लोगों ने भी सुना हो सकता, मुझे ध्यान नहीं है, परंतु कुछ समय पहले जब संस्कृत विषय पे ही पर्टिकुलरली जगत गुरु शंकराचार्य जी ने 3 अवार्ड दिए थे, उसमें एक अवार्ड था सुषमा स्वराज जी को, एक था अमिताभ बच्चन जी को, और एक और दूसरे स्कॉलर को था। तो उस अवार्ड की फेसबुक पे वो वीडियो था, वो बहुत पॉपुलर हुआ। करीब साल भर पहले की बात बता रहा हूँ मैं, या 2 साल पहले की बात होगी, कि सुषमा स्वराज जी को जब जगत गुरु शंकराचार्य जी ने संस्कृत विषय विशेषज्ञ के रूप में उनको पुरस्कृत किया, तो जो सुषमा स्वराज जी ने उस समय जो भाषण दिया, इतने अच्छे संस्कृत में वो बोली और संस्कृत की जो महिमा उन्होंने गाई। उन्होंने कहा कि पूरी दुनिया, चाहे वो इंफॉर्मेशन टेक्नोलॉजी वाली हो, चाहे यूएस की हो, चाहे कोई भी हो, सबसे दुनिया की बेहतर लैंग्वेज है तो वो संस्कृत है, क्योंकि बाइनरी सिस्टम पे चलती है। उसमें जो आप शब्द बोलते हैं वही उच्चारण करते हैं। उसकी जो वोकैबुलरी है, जो उसकी ग्रामर है, उससे बढ़िया दुनिया में किसी की ग्रामर हो नहीं सकती, किसी भी लैंग्वेज की। और मुझको मैं फैसिनेटेड था उनके उस स्पीच को सुन के। मैं चाहता था कि आज मैं उसको एक्सप्लोर करके कहीं से वीडियो निकाल के आपको सुनाऊं, पर मुझे ज़रूरत नहीं है, क्योंकि संपनानंद जी और अनिल कुमार जी ऑलरेडी हैं जो इस विषय में अपनी बात कहेंगे। पर मैं भाव विभोर हो गया वो वीडियो जब मैंने पहली बार सुना, और कम से कम मैंने उसके बाद में उसको 100 बार सुना होगा। आप देखिए कि अगर आपको भी कहीं फेसबुक पे या कहीं पे मिलेंगे तो जरूर आप कोशिश करिए कि जगत गुरु शंकराचार्य जी ने जो वो पुरस्कृत किया था सुषमा स्वराज जी को, और उन्होंने जो उसमें जो भाषण दिया, करीब 5 मिनट का लगभग भाषण है वो, उसको हमको सबको सुनना चाहिए, तो पता लगेगा कि संस्कृत की दुनिया में क्या वैल्यू है। मैं इस समय और ज़्यादा नहीं कहना चाहूँगा, पर उन्नत भारत की तरफ से कॉलेजेस के माध्यम से काम है, और हम कॉलेज के माध्यम से किस तरह स्कूलों को भी एम्पावर कर सकें, ये प्रयास हम लोग कर रहे हैं। और अंत में विवेकानंद जी ने कहा था कि एजुकेशन इजंट ओनली कलेक्शन ऑफ इंफॉर्मेशन बट समथिंग मोर मीनिंगफुल। अब उस मोर मीनिंगफुल को हमको एक्सप्लोर करना है, एंड एजुकेशन शुड बी मैन मेकिंग, लाइफ गिविंग एंड कैरेक्टर बिल्डिंग। तो उसी दिशा में किस तरह से एजुकेशन को हम सही प्रारूप में ले जाएं, और संस्कृत का उसमें बहुत महत्वपूर्ण रोल रहने वाला है, क्योंकि हमारे सारे लिटरेचर, लैंग्वेज, स्कॉलर्स, हमारे सारे ग्रंथ और हमारी सारी विधा संस्कृत पर आधारित रही है। तो मुझे आशा है कि आज ही आईआईटी रुड़की की तरफ से और संपदानंद जी और अनिल कुमार जी और नोमेश मिलके हमारे स्कूल एजुकेशन में किस तरह संस्कृत की उपादेयता को प्रतिष्ठापित हम पुनः कर पाएंगे, उसके लिए बहुत बहुत शुभकामनाएं। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद।
Thank you, Professor Vijay, for giving us a wonderful, unique, very personal context and background of the Unnat Bharat Abhiyan, as well as your wise words for the rest of this session. Before I introduce the next speaker, I just recall the first time I landed in Puducherry some years back. We wanted to do an event, and we were quite stressed about that event because nothing had been worked out for that event, and the event was supposed to happen fairly quickly after that. Somebody suggested, meet Dr. Sampadanand Mishra, and he was kind enough to actually, for the first time, treat us to a lunch in a beautiful place in Puducherry. I still remember that meeting vividly. The one thing that came off as soon as I saw him and did my usual namaste is a feeling of pleasantness and calmness. And all through, I was wondering, what is it about some people, Sampaji is one of them, that, you just feel just calm, meeting them. And then, of course, I came to know him. I'm fortunate to know him. I've been interacting with him off and on several things. And then I realized, I recalled what some other wise people have said. His commitment to Sanskrit is simply phenomenal. I vividly recall, Sampaji, how you said the mission of your life is that Sanskrit reaches each and every child of our country. And yes, hopefully it will happen. We are all there in that mission. And why just Bharat? Maybe even the whole world, maybe the entire world will know about Sanskrit, particularly through its children. So when we wanted to do the session, we could not think of anybody better than Dr. Sampadanand Mishra, also lovingly referred to as Sampaji by all of us, to conduct this session. He has been dedicating his efforts towards rediscovering the aesthetic as well as scientific nature of the Sanskrit language for more than 2 decades now. He's a Sanskrit scholar from Odisha and the director of the Shri Aurobindo Foundation for Indian Culture in Puducherry. Dr. Mishra's academic qualifications include an MPhil in Sanskrit from Puducherry Central University, receiving a gold medal for his excellent performance, and a PhD from Utkal University on Sanskrit and the evolution of human speech. His work spans a wide diversity of subjects such as Sanskrit grammar, prosody, literature, ancient culture, and Indian philosophy. He's been invited to talk at national and international conferences and seminars, has authored several research papers and articles for Sanskrit journals and magazines, and has published a number of books in the field of Sanskrit. Sampaji, your book on the wonder that is Sanskrit is still with me. It still gives me inspiration all the time, every time that I look at it and read it. Dr. Mishra holds a host of honorary positions as an academic advisor and coordinator, while also being the vice president of the Bharatiya Sanskrit Patrakara Sangha in New Delhi and the trustee of the Vande Mataram Library Trust. Recently, he has been nominated by the Ministry of Culture as a member of the National Empowered Committee for the National Mission for Manuscripts. He has also launched, very interestingly, the first ever 24-hour Sanskrit radio called Divyavani. His work in the field of Sanskrit has won him accolades such as the Maharshi Badrayan Vyas Sammana from the President of India and the Senior Fellowship Award by the Ministry of Culture, Government of India. He has also been conferred with the Bala Sahitya Award by Kendra Sahitya Academy for his book Shanaihi Shanaihi, an illustrated book of Sanskrit poems for children. Sampatji, you've told us about how you're engaging with the government as well as private schools. I've heard, and so many of us would have heard, why you think Sanskrit is important. We look forward to hearing from you on, again, re-emphasizing the principles and how it can be done in a much more meaningful way than merely teaching a language in schools all over the country. A warm welcome again, and over to you, Sampath.
Namaskar to all of you. So my deepest regard to Professor V.K. Vijayji, Anil Kumarji, and Nomesh, and others who are present here. Anytime I'm invited to speak about Sanskrit, so it's always a topic which is very, very dear to my heart. And more than what I speak or what ideas I hold in my mind with regard to the promotion, propagation, and actually bringing Sanskrit to as many people as possible. So the most important thing is that I spend maximum of my time in creating innovative methods, innovative ways of teaching Sanskrit to the children. So some of these which I will be sharing, but let me share with you like what inspired me the most. Anyway, I have been there with Sanskrit right from my childhood, but when I came in contact with Shri Aurobindo and the mother, their writings, in 1967, 11th of November, when mother was addressing to a group of teachers here in the ashram school, so when she was asked about how Sanskrit or whether Sanskrit should be introduced, not just introduced, should be taught in the ashram school in the afternoon classes or not. So she very emphatically said, because it was 11th of November, or that day, because she said it on that day, so that 11th November is celebrated here in the ashram as a Sanskrit day, ashram Sanskrit day. She spoke so many things, but what was striking in that whole conversation of the teachers with the mother, she said, as every child born in France has to learn French, every child born in India must learn Sanskrit. I mean, that set the mission for me, my life's mission, like what is the work that I need to do if I am initiated to the teachings of Sri Aurobindo and the mother, if I am inspired by them and if I am following their teachings. So this is what is the mission of my life. That the work has been given to me by the divine himself, that as many children as possible Sanskrit has to reach. So whether schools adopt it, not adopt it, It's a very different thing, but we can bring Sanskrit to the children of India by various means. Many people say that why government of India is not doing, why this there is it's not in school. But everything we cannot just like expect that government of India should do. What is our role and responsibility? There are in schools there are not many things, like we teach music, we teach judo, karate to our children, we teach them swimming by taking them to different places, or bringing those trainers to home. Why can't we do that for Sanskrit? Like, if it is not there in school, but the parents also can make effort, approach certain learning centers, teachers where Sanskrit is being taught. So before, like anything is done on a mass scale by the government of India. So there has to be this preparation. Every individual, every Indian, if they will, Sanskrit can come back to our life, to our children at least. So it was with this I used to conduct classes for children. Whenever there was any youth camp, teachers training camp, or anything of that sort, so I used to, bring Sanskrit, little bit of Sanskrit learning, or some interesting aspects about Sanskrit language which can inspire. So, and that's how the Wonder That Is Sanskrit book resulted. So my search for interesting things which can inspire others about Sanskrit. So one listens to those examples and then say, wow, is it really possible in Sanskrit or in any language? So this wow effect that we find in some of the examples, like we need to bring more of such kinds, and then my search continues. So I have plenty of examples, like few examples which I have given only in the Wonder That Is Sanskrit. So beyond that, there are many, many more examples which I keep sharing with others. Now, what happens? Like, in what manner I have been participating in this yajna of, or in this vision, actualizing this vision of the mother, or the vision of the mother means it is the vision of the divine. It's the will of the divine that, Sanskrit must come back to our life. And it has to come back first through the children. Okay. Now, inside, the search was always there. Like, can some schools be open to this idea of introducing Sanskrit? And when this churning was going on, so there was a meeting I went to Delhi for attending, and someone had organized my meeting with the founder of Set MR Jaipuria School, the vice chairperson, Mrs. Anjali Jaipuria. So we had a lovely conversation for a long time in the hotel. And then I said, like, what you expect from me? He said, nothing. I just expect that I have heard your mission, your love for Sanskrit, and then I'm very inspired by Sanskrit, and then I follow also Sri Aurobindo and the mother. So I would like to give my school to you. You do whatever you want to do for my school, but make Sanskrit an integral part of my school. Wow, that was the day for me. That was the day for me. I expressed my deepest sense of gratitude to the mother that it is here the work can begin. So I went to the school. She took me to the Lucknow. 5,000 children studying, such bright children. So anyone can visit that school and then see. So you can't just like help yourself. So I, looking at the children, I thought that in few years the children should start speaking Sanskrit, and for that, not any other textbook, because by that time I was familiar with most of the textbooks of the state board, of NCRT, of CBSE, and then many other schools, boards which have brought out the curriculum or the textbooks for teaching Sanskrit to the children. And looking at Even now also the same thing continues. Looking at those textbooks, even now also I feel very, very unhappy and sad that what kind of education we are bringing to the children, what kind of methodology. So most of the textbooks have no vision. It's just prepared overnight. Like you have a set framework that if Sanskrit has to be taught, it has to be such and such things have to be given. These are the parts of the speech, and just fill in those columns with some stories, some essays, something of some sort of some notes and like that. Some songs, some shlokas, some mantras. But where is the vision? Like, why do you want? And then have you understood the child's psychology? What the children want? So this is what, not just in the case of Sanskrit, but in the case of most of the subjects, that all that we are teaching to our children is an imposition. That a set of people who have decided the destiny of the children, this is what they should learn. This is how they should learn. No one has consulted the children like what you want to study and how would you like to study. This is what, like when we come to the national system of education that was framed by Sri Aurobindo, and I would request anyone who is connected with the education must read those few articles by Sri Aurobindo and the mother, and especially Sri Aurobindo, like what is the national system of education. If we have to design a system of education for India, what should be its nature? So the basic three principles. The first principle, he says that nothing can be taught. A teacher must not feel that he is a taskmaster or a trainer, but he is a facilitator, he is a guide who helps the child to manifest that perfection which is already lying within him. And this was the famous statement of Swami Vivekananda. And this has been our tradition right from the Vedic age, right from the ancient times, that Atmanam Vidhi, know thyself. So that based on that, the second principle of education, again, Sri Aurobindo says that the mind has to be consulted in its growth. There should be no imposition on anyone in the field of education while teaching this. How many times we have consulted the children that what they want and how they want, what materials we present in the textbooks, are they conducive to the child psychology or not? When the children are in their progressive age, when they're developing, different qualities are developing, different faculties are developing, have we taken care of that while designing a curriculum, while designing the textbooks? Whether those materials we present as the study materials, is it helping in the growth of their faculties, their concentration power, their memory power, their imagination power, their creativity, their observation, their original thinking, their power of expression? If the textbook, if the curriculum has not taken care of all these things, then it cannot be an effective curriculum. Then once the textbook is there, how are we going to teach it in the classroom? Because textbook can be a very fabulous curriculum with all the vision, but you need right kind of teachers who are trained uniquely, innovatively to, they have been given that content, unique content delivery mechanism by which this purpose of Atmanam Vidhi. So what happened in that school? I started working with the teachers. We had appointed around 8 or 9 teachers because it's a huge school, and then different sections. So in every section we wanted to have Sanskrit, and then we appointed around 8, 9 teachers. I had constant meeting with them. I evaluated the kind of materials they are teaching. So what we did, created a kind of framework which I gave to them based on my own experience. For 5, 6 years, all these materials were experimented on the children in the classroom before we printed the textbook. We handed over the printed textbook to the children. Every textbook in every classroom, the teachers were, like I asked these teachers that teach and then see to what the children respond most. If they are not responding, there also it has to be evaluated why they are not responding. Is it the teacher is unable to deliver it properly, or it is not matching with the children, or children are interested in something else? If we have to present a story, what kind of story? How the story has to be presented? So 5-6 years this experiment went on. Plenty of materials. We tried with lots of materials. Then we collated those materials which were responded most by the children. And then put it, organized it. So if anyone, the Deva Bhasha curriculum which is prepared, if one looks at it, right from the LKG to class 8, the 10 books, you can see the vision and how the content is organized, graded, and in the total curriculum, in all these textbooks, there is no lessons on the grammar of Sanskrit. Because what we wanted, that Sanskrit must be taught, and if we need to bring Sanskrit to every child of India in every school, this one rule we must keep: it must be taught as a living language. It must be taught as a living language, and it must be taught through Sanskrit alone, not using any other language. Today, anyone who goes to the school will find that the children of the school know that our teachers are incapable or do not know any other language other than Sanskrit. So that forces them to speak and communicate with the teacher. Whatever they want to communicate, they communicate in Sanskrit. It has a living presence in the whole school. So Sanskrit must be taught as a living language, and Sanskrit must be taught through the Sanskrit medium. And all the grammatical rules and regulations must be avoided in the primary classes. The way we were taught, and hundreds and thousands of children are also taught nowadays. If you look at the textbook, why I said that it's sad. So it's all filled in with, the teacher will come, today we will learn the Tvanta Prayoga, Tumananta Prayoga, today we will learn the Atita Kala, Bhavishyat Kala, the Krudanta, Tadhita, Samasa, Karaka, Sandhi, Ach Sandhi, Hal Sandhi. A child's mind is not ready. We don't know even the language. We all are speaking English. We never learned the English grammar in that way. Even most of the highly fluent people who are fluently speaking English and then even writing English will fail to understand even certain grammatical terminologies if it is put before them. Why should we bring all these, like ach, hal, and all kinds of grammatical rules before the children? When we can teach the language as a living language, following all the different principles of teaching language. And the purpose here, and purpose must be what I feel, whatever the subject may be, and this I have applied to the Sanskrit language, that education has a higher purpose. What is that purpose? Both the child and the teacher, they must be aware of what is that purpose. If that awareness is not there, we cannot organize our materials, teaching materials or learning materials, or our methodology will not evolve rightly if we are not clear about the purpose. The teachers must know why they are teachers. How should they teach their subject? So then it is in harmony with the higher purpose of education. If that is not happening, we are just loading the children with information and some kind of learning, but the actual purpose of education, which is Atmanam Vidhi, that know thyself. If my education cannot create, I know everything, but I have not awareness about myself. I don't know who am I. I don't know how to lead my life. My life skills are never taught, because my life skills and then my like what you call the education what is given to me, they are completely in isolation, separate. It has nothing to, I have never given a chance to relate those things with my own life, what is happening with me. So that is why our ancient seers and sages, they kept this single aim of life, aim of yoga, aim of education. They are not different. Education is yoga. Yoga is education. Life is both education and yoga. And the purpose is one purpose. Atma va are drashtavya, srotavya, mantavya, nididhyasitavya. It is that Atman that one has to know oneself. How do we infuse this self-awareness with the learning of Sanskrit? That was the challenge before me while designing this curriculum. And today, anyone who sits with me with all the 10 books, I'll explain chapter by chapter, and then I will also explain like how the content delivery mechanism is developed. So then the self-awareness is created along with the language teaching. And the same technology, same methodology, the same process can be adopted by other language teachers while teaching their language. I'll give few examples so then it becomes clear what I say. Now I go to the class as a teacher. I know that the child has to be helped in developing his power of observation. And if as a teacher I have not taken care of that, I have not thought about that, then I am not a teacher at all. I'm just, like just a teacher because I have been given this responsibility by chance. So my responsibility is to see the child is growing in the word key. I have to see that through my subject I am doing justice and I am facilitating this inner growth of the child. I am taking care of his power of observation. I am taking care of his power of concentration. I am taking care of his power of memory. I am taking care of his power of original thinking. I am taking care of his reasoning power. I am taking care of his power of expression, his creativity, his imagination. If we have not taken care of all these, then what is the kind of education that we are giving to the child? I link it with the Sanskrit learning and then created a mechanism by which the language learning and this aspect, the inner growth of the child, go simultaneously. I'll give you an example. Today I go to the classroom with the idea of triggering the power of observation of the child. So I'm triggering today the power of observation. And today I have the lesson to teach that Shashti Vibhakti Abhyas. I'm using the Shashti Vibhakti to give clarity because it is the sixth case which is used in the sense of possession, like Ram's book, Ramasya Pustakam, Gajasya Pucham, the tail of the elephant, Mama Nama, my name, Tava Nama. This is what is Shashti Vibhakti. I have to do a recap of this, and then I also have to trigger the power of observation. How do I combine this and then come out with an activity, and very highly innovative activity? So I cannot just like come out with any activity which is not interesting, which is not engaging. Then it will be a failure. So I have to take care that my classroom is active, dynamic, vibrant. The children are happy. They're dancing with joy. They want to learn it. That also I have to take care of. So what I do, I go with, because now by this time the children are familiar with, if you show them the picture of an elephant, then ask Kah Eshah, they will be able to tell Eshah Gaja. You show the figure of a tiger and then ask them Kah Eshah, they will be able to tell you Eshah Vyaghra, because they're now familiar with it. They're also familiar with the Shashti Vibhakti because this is the recap. If I say Vyagrasya, they will understand the teacher is saying like Vyagrasya Pucham means the Pucham, the tail of the tiger. Gajasya Mastakam, they will understand. Gajasya Netram, they will understand. Shrugalasya Mukham, they will understand. Now I am linking it with self-awareness that today I am coming with this mission of triggering their power of observation. What I do? The initial exercise is just to make them familiar and then create that confidence among the children. This is also important. Before you ask any question to the children or do anything, you have to create that confidence in the children. So I create the confidence in the children that they know they're able to say Gajasya Pucham, they're able to understand, they're able to see. So they have a curiosity and they have this confidence that yes, today whatever is going to happen, we are able to do it. Now, when I find that this confidence level is there in the children, so I have taken with me another set of pictures. In that set of pictures, like on one side you have all the animals, and on another side I have the footprints of the animals. A very simple exercise. Even the adults will fail doing this exercise because we have never been told what is power of observation. It is never taught in the school separately. No teacher has taken care of it. I have gone through the entire system of education, right from my childhood to the MPhil PhD. No teacher had ever told me that you need to develop your power of concentration. You need to develop your power of observation, original thinking, and this is the way. You have to do all these things. No teacher had told me. I don't see it happening in any school, any college, any university. Everyone is busy completing the syllabus. So now I put a simple question to the children. On one side, you have the animals. On another side, you have the footprints. A simple question with Shashti Vibhakti. Kasya padachinnam. Whose footprint? Match it. The children will start observing, and most children will fail because our power of observation is such that we can recognize the tiger but not its footprint. Many aspects we just casually see things, not observe keenly. It happens practically. We have to accept it that this is the ground reality. We cannot differentiate between one animal's footprint with the another uh, animal's footprint. The children struggle and they could find out immediately. Just imagine like the first, because we need to create confidence, we have to give something which they can recognize first. So the elephants, they will recognize first. Gajasya Patachinna, they will match it. From bigger, you have to come to the smaller, to the birds, to the insects. If you need to help them developing the keen power of observation. This is a simple exercise, very engaging. Children are interested and I'm triggering their power of observation. Then what happens? You can ask me what happens next. Next day, you do it. If you are a teacher, go and then do it. This will be your experience. Next day, all the children, the moment you enter into the classroom, they will surround, they will say, Sriman, tasya puchham etadrisham, tasya danta etadrisha, tasya mukham etadrisham. You say, no, look, his eyes are like that, nose is like that, ear is like that. Because the teacher's job is done, the triggering has happened. Now it will take care of its own thing. And when that is there, I can go with another set of activity to teach both, combine both Shashti and Saptami, the sixth and seventh case. What I do, I take like two sets of picture or one set of picture, say. I remove the tiger's tail and fix it in the khargosh, in the rabbit. Rabbit's tail in the goat, goat's tail in the elephant, elephant's in the tiger. And then I go with one question, Kasya Pucham Kasmin. Look at how interesting is the classroom. They learn the language. I'm not teaching any grammar there, grammatical rules there. I'm teaching the language as a living language. They learn it through these exercises. Language learning happens. Their conversational skill is taken care of. Then the kind of love that they develop for the language, that is taken care of. Most importantly, the self-awareness is taken care of. So how, through this curriculum, the self-awareness, which is the true aim of education, is reconciled with the lessons. So this is the uniqueness of the Deva Bhasha curriculum, right from LKG to class 8. And the whole mechanism is developed so then the teachers can teach. What will they teach to a play school children, and how should they teach? What they should not teach, and what they should teach, and how should they teach? What should be their approach? So all these things are very, meticulously worked out, so then it is an effective, very highly effective system which has been developed, which can work out in any school, and we are ready to handhold anyone who is interested. And today it has spread many places. Many schools have adopted this curriculum, and then we are handholding and then giving them the teachers training. That's one aspect. The other aspect is, like when we look at the other languages, how they are teaching, many people, like, it's a usual thing that like children come home, if any guest comes home, bolo baba wo rhyme song bolo uncle ke samne. That's a regular affair in every home. Inky winky pinky, father had a donkey, twinkle twinkle little star. It goes on and it is there, सबकी जुबान पर है, बच्चों के पास. Or we feel very proud that look how many nursery rhymes my child has learned. Sing it. Meaningless, useless rhyming songs. Why children love it? Because of the tuning, because of the pattern. But the meaning point of view, most of the times you will find that there is hardly any content in those rhyming songs. And many places I also, like this question is always asked on the social media, they ask, like, is there no original rhyming songs in Sanskrit that many people are imitating? And most people also get so excited that they literally translate all these rhyming songs into Sanskrit and then teach in the same tune. That should be avoided. Sanskrit has its own original flavor, which we need to catch and then bring it to the children. And we can create. Sanskrit is such a flexible language. You can create immense number of, if it is not there and it was not necessary, maybe nursery rhyme, because in ancient times it was a very different situation. Today, Sanskrit is almost a foreign language to all the Indians. It's a foreign language, but the Indian kids, Indian youths, Indian people have no familiarity with this language. And there's so much of objection about this language. Why this language? What is the utility of this language? They don't understand the higher purpose that this language can achieve. And children must be given Sanskrit. And if it is given by following, like, like I say, and we can develop together. I don't say that I am alone, who have worked out. In a collaborative approach, if we keep, we all can come together and create many more aspects. A framework I have given, a roadmap I have shown. One can follow, we can follow, and we can expand it together, collaboratively, and take this work forward. Everyone participates in it. Everyone contributes his own towards this yajna. And the kind of literature that we should create. So this is where in 2014, I founded Samskrita Bala Sahitya Parishad. It is not just working for children, how children will learn Sanskrit. That's a separate thing which is achieved through the Deva Bhasha curriculum, creating something for learning Sanskrit. But once someone has learned Sanskrit, say for example, like the children have learned English. No, we give them a novel, we give them some books, some song books, story books, the literature, the children's literature. Rarely you find a qualitative children's literature in Sanskrit. In 2016, I'm sharing this because I have gone through this practical experience and this is the situation. I'm talking about the ground reality. In 2016, I held a national level seminar for the first time in the history of India, history of Sanskrit, a specific national level seminar only on children's literature in Sanskrit. And believe me, to whomever I wrote, people said, but where is the content that we have to go and then speak? 30 speakers, and some of the speakers, if they are listening to me also will agree, or when they listen to me, they will agree. Literally, I had to send content to every speaker and assigned them, this is what you will be speaking. This is what you will be speaking. That is what he will be speaking. This whole discussion, whole preparation went on for a long time. And the different ideas of children's literature. People think that if I write the baby Vivekananda in Sanskrit, whatever my language or presentation may be, it's a children's literature. I write something about Dhruva, Prahlada, Abhimanyu, that becomes children's literature. Not much study has been done by the Sanskrit people how to create children's literature in Sanskrit. What exactly children's literature mean? And then I create a literature. I have to keep in mind that if I am creating it for a specific age group, I have to keep in mind that this is the developmental phase. This is what is growing during this age group. This is what is the demand, is the need. And then what literature I create must help in the growth of the child during that phase. I cannot just create anything and then do it. How do we combine the artwork with that? Which kind of artwork is suitable for which age group? Which content? There are plenty of subtle things which one needs to take care of creating qualitative children's literature in Sanskrit. This is the kind of research, this is the kind of study which is being done at Sanskrit Bala Sahitya Parishad, and today we have been able to bring out 8, 10 qualitative children's literature book in Sanskrit. I'll give one more example. The example is that we go and then teach all kinds of verbal forms, pathati, hasati, khelati, gayati. But in what manner? The same old pattern, or some innovative pattern which people say that you take a PowerPoint or you show them some, video of someone running and then say dhavati, or let that be enacted by the children. Okay, fine. But how this particular practice of teaching the verbal forms in Sanskrit to the children can be raised to a different level where the objective of creating self-awareness can also be achieved. I'll give you one example here. And the same thing can also be how it can be linked with the children's literature. What kind of literature we should create for the children, so then that can be utilized by the children once they have this knowledge of Sanskrit, once they are able to speak Sanskrit. Now I go to the classroom and the children are familiar with, say, 50 verbal forms. So it's a recap, but I go with the purpose of creating self-awareness. Also triggering their power of original thinking. Most of the times teachers do not give a chance to the students in the classroom to think and say. Do not give a chance even to the children to ask questions. So all these things can be combined through this activity. So I go. The purpose is to create self-awareness, trigger their power of original thinking, give them that avasara, that scope, so then whatever they're learning, they're relating it with themselves. What happens to them? So I go with this simple activity. To create confidence, I check that they are able to share with me. Okay, pathati, reading is pathati, laughing is hasati. They know. I check. So then they are confident that yes, if it is the recap of all the verbal forms, we are able to say. I show them the picture. They are able to say. Then I ask them, let's do another activity. Tell me which activities are done using one hand. It's a simple question. Most of the times we adults also, we have to think to say how many activities we do with one hand. So they will start thinking, relating with themselves, and they already know the verbal forms. So one child will come of Sriman Khadami, Sriman Likhami, Marjayami. I'm wiping out something which is written on the blackboard or writing board. Marjayami, Ahvayami. Slowly, the entire class will be, thinking about what activities are done using one hand. So I'm giving them a scope to think, relate, and express. Then I can say which activities are done by two hands, which activities are done by hands and legs. From the physical, I can move to the sense organs. What does the nose do? What does the ear do? What do the eyes do? What does the mouth do? They're able to say something. And then I can write a poetry and then teach them all the different activities of the sense organs. And that becomes a part of my literature, children's literature, where practically it can be implemented and it helps creating awareness. And the language learning happens not through grammar, but through Sanskrit itself and through Sanskrit itself, and also as a living language. So if we can come out with such, I have hundreds of such activities which can be implemented in the classroom, where the language learning, the Sanskrit can be taught as a living language through Sanskrit. At the same time, the purpose of education can also be taken care of, the self-awareness. And side by side, in harmony with the levels of language learning, the literature can be created. Suppose we teach the names of 5 fingers. Let's have a beautiful song on the 5 fingers. Let them sing. So, in this manner, if we can create an integrated program, which is happening to a great extent through this Devabhasha curriculum, and I invite everyone who is interested to be a part of this movement, and then we can take it, private or the government, whichever school. And in many states also this awareness is growing, And slowly people are opening to these ideas, and slowly Sanskrit is coming back to the children. There is another aspect to it. It is not just bringing Sanskrit to the children from the play school or from LKG, UKG, when they're absolutely, toddlers from that level. But the real education begins much before the child is born. How was Abhimanyu educated? How was Ashtavakra educated? And today, the science proves that yes, whatever happens when the mother is carrying the baby within, every thought, every emotion, every movement of the mother has an impact on the child. So by the time the child is born, much education has already taken place. If that phase can be well taken care of, then the future of the child will be a very different future. So bringing Sanskrit to the expectant mothers, there's another program which I have created, that bringing Sanskrit to the expectant mothers. So then when they learn Sanskrit and use Sanskrit and then use it in their day-to-day life while being in this phase, much of education can go to the child before the child is born. That's another phase, the prenatal education, which is much necessary, also can be brought into the domain of our national system of education. And Sanskrit must be linked with it. The third most important point, again, the Sanskrit should not be taught by separating it from the regional languages. It must be linked with the regional languages. In fact, every regional language textbook should have good amount of Sanskrit lessons. Every Sanskrit textbook also should contain certain element of the regional languages. This combined learning of Sanskrit and the regional languages, when it goes in this manner, so all the regional languages and the Sanskrit, they will grow, enriching each other, sharing with each other, empowering each other, and a very different Bharat that we can imagine when that actually happens. So these are few ideas which I thought I would share today. And if there are any questions, I will be addressing to those questions. Dhanyavad for giving me this opportunity.
Hello, sir. Thank you so much for your session. We do have few questions with us, and let me only begin with the first question, which is from one of the participants. Why is it important to teach Sanskrit to the children at an early age?
Yeah. See, in the early age, when the different faculties are developing, the mind is developing, or the mind's capacities, all the different, like its power of concentration, memory, creativity, all the different faculties are developing. So Sanskrit being a very systematic and scientific language, so it helps in the development of memory, it helps in the development of the reasoning, the thinking power, it helps in the development of the linguistic faculty, it helps in developing the power of concentration, creativity, imagination, observation, and these are the elements which are there in Sanskrit because of its high systematic nature, scientific nature. So it contains in its structure that, and because Sanskrit is a highly rhythmic and melodious language, like how music helps in developing concentration, If music helps in developing concentration, memory, and bringing focus, Sanskrit can help because it is a highly rhythmic language. It's almost, music. So, if we think in these terms, Sanskrit being a highly systematic scientific language, highly rhythmic language, it has, you know, that potentiality in helping the development of the inner faculties. That's why a child who is learning Sanskrit, he has a well developed mind, well developed concentration power, memory power, and clarity in speech. I have not yet found in any Vedic Gurukul where the children are learning or the Veda mantras, chanting Veda mantras, have any, like any child developing any kind of speech related disorders or disabilities. No, I have not found so far. There may be. I don't claim that it is 100% true, but so far I have not seen anyone. So speaking Sanskrit, using Sanskrit, how it uses the whole mouth system in activating the nervous system, the articulators completely, bringing that flexibility into the mouth. What it does to our focus, our concentration. I have experimented it on many children who lacked focus, concentration. I gave them random 20, 30 verses and songs in Sanskrit. They kept reciting how it helped them gaining confidence, not getting too excited. The hyper active children became quiet and focused. Their memory power also developed, and one can try it out and then check it. I keep on experimenting this on children, and it works amazingly. It works amazing. I'll just give you one example like the visarga. You take the visarga sound. Ah. If a child has low focus, low memory power, no concentration, and very fickle, in pranayama they say the child you can teach them to do the bahya kumbhaka, and bahya kumbhaka can be very naturally done by the recitation of the visarga sound. Ah, ah. Combine visarga with all the vowels, all the letters, and then ask the child to do it. And Sanskrit is so full of visarga and anuswara. Separately, you can have combined with all the vowel sounds. Ah, ah, eh, ooh. It helps bringing that focus. So this is the reason, like if Sanskrit is given to the children right from the early age, it helps immensely in their inner growth. That's the reply that I can give to this question.
Thank you, sir. I now request the participants to kindly begin with their questions.
Good evening, sir. My name is Shubham,
Mhm.
and I have a question that what is the right age that the child should be introduced to Sanskrit?
Yeah, as I said that I do it with the play school so far, and then I'm experimenting with before the child is born because there is no age. Even the child, right from the day of the conception, we can bring Sanskrit impact to the child. So it can be given right from the early age when the child is, speaking, starts speaking, or goes to the play school. We have been doing it at Jaipuriya school right from the play school. And it's very, play school is the most amazing scene that one can see and they enjoy. The children enjoy most there.
Can we have the other question, please?
Hello. Namaste, sir. My name is Satish, and my question is: are there enough teachers who can teach Sanskrit at primary level if schools decide to introduce?
No, we need to create teachers. We need to train teachers, and many people they also have to volunteer to become teachers at primary level. There are many who do not want to teach us at primary level. Everyone wants a university job, teach to the college children. So here some other strategy we have to adopt to create more Sanskrit teachers who can teach at the primary level. And then I have a lot of other ideas related to it, because I keep creating many teachers who are with me and then they are teaching Sanskrit. They have no qualification, no formal qualification, B.Ed, M.Ed or anything, but they can teach Sanskrit to the children the best way possible. So we need to find out strategies. How do we create, if the schools decide, because every year we are giving appointment to 35 to 40 teachers in different schools which adopt this curriculum. So we keep training the teachers and creating new teachers. But at present, there are not enough teachers who can teach Sanskrit at the primary level.
Thank you, sir.
Can we please have the next question?
Hello sir, my name is Kuldeep and my question is how to teach Sanskrit to the small kids to sustain their interest. Thank you.
Yeah, I think I have given enough examples like how to teach them. It is teaching them through songs, through stories, through theater activities, through various kinds of innovative activities, because small kids, like until they become 6 7 years old, so they don't know how to write, how to read maybe a little bit but not writing. So it has to be a completely verbal, conversational pattern, through songs, through stories, through different activities, through project methods, through various other methods, that we make them familiar with the vocabularies, make them familiar with the small sentences, familiar with day-to-day expressions, like how we present them Sanskrit as a living language. So children are more interested in enacting, children are more interested in listening to songs, listening to stories. So we hardly find, wonderful storytellers in Sanskrit. You cannot just present, to the children, ekah kakah asti, kakah trushitah asti, sah jalam ichati. Cannot be, storytelling has its own art. We need to train many Sanskrit teachers how to tell stories, whether it is a simple story or it is a complex story. But storytelling is an art by itself. So a language teacher must learn the art of storytelling, must learn how to present a song, how to present a shloka, and then combining it again with the purpose of education. Rest of the things we can never isolate. We have to keep always hand in hand with that. But there are plenty of activities through which we make the classroom interesting, and the children just love it like anything. Various kinds of activities. If you see, go to the Jaipuria YouTube, you can find a lot of play school and LKG, UKG short videos, classroom videos which are presented there. You can see that how fun is it for the children to learn Sanskrit. And believe me, the children are just waiting for the Sanskrit children. They will ask other teachers that when is our Sanskrit class? When is the Sanskrit teacher coming? Because they love it so much. There's so much of fun here.
Namaste, sir.
Yes.
Can you share your experience in developing curriculum and teachers training program for teaching Sanskrit at the primary level?
Share my experience means, like as I said, like in developing the curriculum, we have to have that vision. Like why are we teaching Sanskrit? How are we develop such a system that by which the purpose of education is served, and at the same time the language learning happens in the most effective way. There cannot be a single methodology. The methodology, if it is a single methodology and then you keep imposing that you have a set framework, okay, this is how you should teach, how it happens in the B.Ed and M.Ed training. So there is a set format. The methods have to evolve. It can differ from classroom to classroom, age group to age group, situation to situation. There cannot be one method. There cannot be one set pattern. So that we need to take care. So this is what is my experience, that I have experimented this. Like the same story can be taught following different methodologies in different classrooms. There cannot be set pattern that you have to have this worksheet, that worksheet, and this is the way, this much you have done. Check it in your notebook that the syllabus is completed by following whatever methodology we have adopted. No, there has to be immense flexibility. The methods have to evolve. One has to see how conducive it to the environment, to the child, to the subject that we are teaching. And in developing curriculum also, like it has to be, the children have to be consulted, in the sense that it has to be experimented first before the final form is given to the children. It should not be that a group of people or a team is formed, editorial board is formed of this professor, that professor, and then this level of person, and they decide for the children this is what they should study. That is a very wrong way of presenting. That is why the children, even the teachers, some of the textbooks, the teachers do not understand the whole subject that is given. It's too difficult for them. So for that, there is another session that where teachers will be called just to understand what is that thing. Sentences they do not understand. It's such difficult things which are put in the textbooks, which small children will be studying, class 8, class 7, class 6 children, or class 9 children. So that very difficult, complicated aspects we need to avoid. We need to bring the simple things. Every language has its own difficulty. Every language has a difficult side of it, a simple side of it. English is not that easy. It's not that easy. It has its own complications, but we have managed. The same way Sanskrit also can be managed. But we have never presented Sanskrit to the children in that way. That environment we have not yet created. But while preparing the curriculum, while preparing the teachers training, we need to take care of all these things, the purpose of education, and then this content delivery mechanism has to be in such a manner that it is the most natural and effective way of teaching, engaging and innovative ways of teaching. There are innovation awards in all languages, all subjects. I have not seen a single Sanskrit innovation program. Wherever I do my teachers training program, so I say that okay, at least you bring 3 innovations in teaching, जो नवाचार आपने प्रयोग किया है अपने स्कूल में अपने हिसाब से, not imitating others, what you have thought about, and then how you have implemented it, and what is the impact level. So maybe through this platform we can make announcement to invite innovative ideas of the teachers. Let's see how many teachers in this country, Sanskrit teachers who have been teaching for a long time, have implemented some innovative ideas in their classroom and they have assessed the impact. That itself can be a huge program. And through that, there may be plenty of teachers who have done that. But what is that? That can inspire other teachers also. And based on that, more innovative programs can be created for teaching various aspects of the language. And while evaluating the innovations, the evaluators should not look only at the language teaching part, but the education part also has to be taken into consideration. This is what like my idea about the curriculum development and the teachers training.
So there is one more question from YouTube that Abhijit is asking. What is the purpose of learning and teaching Sanskrit language?
The purpose is manifold. The first thing is that being an Indian, every Indian must learn Sanskrit because it's the language of this land. Second, this language, because of its very systematic and scientific structure. I have repeated it many times that it helps immensely in our inner growth. Third, that if we need to get connected with the contributions of our seers and sages, the original works in almost every field of knowledge, that Sanskrit becomes the medium to reconnect with the heart of India, heart of Bharat. So these are the three major reasons. Otherwise, there are plenty of reasons we can bring, but these are the three major reasons for which every Indian child should learn Sanskrit, or every Indian must learn Sanskrit. There has to be this pride of the past. I don't say that one should become the past or follow the past, but that pride one has to carry, like what a nation has done for the entire humanity, for the progressive evolution of the humanity. And from this point of view, Sanskrit has immense contribution. And we should know that. Every Indian must know that.
So another question from YouTube itself. Is it really possible to propagate Sanskrit in India without the explicit support with financial assistance from Government of India in a big way in the present situation in India right
I
now?
think it is, I'm very positive about it, and then I know, I'm very confident about it. Without the government support also, it can be done. There are ways, like, like I will be sharing with Nomesh, Professor Nomesh, this whole proposal, and maybe Anil ji also can be part of it. We can, discuss about it. This whole plan of bringing Sanskrit to every home, and it's a very financially viable project which I have envisioned. Money will be generated through that. We can even help many other schools through this project financially. It's a very financially viable project which I have envisioned, which, like after this program is over, we will have another discussion, and then we can work out on this. It just needs the actualization of that, like what has been envisioned. Possibilities are immense, and I'm very confident that yes, we all can do without the support of anyone. What is needed is that will, that zeal. How the Israeli people made their language as their national language just because of the sheer will that we want to make Israeli, Hebrew our national language. That's all. If that zeal is there, we can manage it, and I'm 100% confident about it. We can do it without anyone's support. Not only that, as an experiment, I have done it, and then I have created teachers who had no idea about Sanskrit, and they are earning 18,000 rupees or 20,000 rupees on their own. Just experiment, and then I can bring those teachers also to the meeting to share their experience, how they became a teacher, and then how they're confidently teaching, and how they're earning also by spending 2-3 hours a week.
Yeah. No, Sampaji will definitely, discuss on this for sure. Looks very exciting. Ruchika, any further questions?
No, sir. No more questions.
Okay,
Thank
so
you.
I'm sure there are more on YouTube, Sampaji, but I think we also have to,
Yes, time and the next.
let you go. Yeah, keep time in consideration. But thank you so very much. It was wonderful as always to have you. You talked about the entire range of ideas related to Sanskrit. Why we should do Sanskrit, and that was a beautiful summary. One is just plain simple that we are Indians, and then there should be that recognition and also pride in the identity. And the second, of course, this beautiful idea of Sanskrit being highly rhythmic and melodious, and at the same time logical as well, therefore helping the inner growth of kids. And also, if you have to really be connected with our original works, our wisdom that's there in our country, I think Sanskrit is one of the best ways to be able to do that. You talked about that, I think, beautiful summary of why. You also touched elaborately upon the how part, right? Which is to say that first, teaching anything, not just Sanskrit, but in particular Sanskrit in our case, needs to have a certain vision. And that vision, according to whatever we have seen in our scriptures and by our seers, is what you beautifully described as Atmanam Vidhi, and the self-awareness, the ability to have original thinking, and then at the same time having the scope to relate, so that the kids can relate to whatever is being talked about. No grammar is a, I think it's absolutely important for kids to learn any language. They should not really be stressed with language, with grammar, but they should instead be taken through a journey of this language through a variety of activities. And you gave a whole list of what can be done. You demonstrated them here. And you also, told us about the Ved Bhasha curriculum, which I think, Dev Bhasha curriculum, which I think we can, further learn from in terms of what activities and what curriculum can have. The idea of teaching Sanskrit through Sanskrit, the STS idea, I think it's critical. It's funny actually when we teach, like all of us teach somebody some language, right? When a child is born, all of us, of course, teach. Nobody among us teaches that language through grammar and a set of rules, etc., etc. And actually, when the person who's being taught, in this case, the children, when they make a mistake, we actually are happy, right? That they made a mistake, they're trying to learn, we try to connect them. If they make a mistake, we find it cute, right? And then try to connect them, and so on and so forth. I mean, I don't know what happens to us when we bring this to a formal platform. We suddenly become, a facilitator and a mentor to somebody who is an authority and somehow has to just drive things down into the minds of students. And that's why we take this other approach of just making it rules after rules and grammar after grammar, whereas probably it's much more simpler and effective done the other way through activities. And I think in that sense, all of us are already teachers in teaching some language, and because we do that all the time at our home. You shared your examples of Jaipuria, and I must say, you did mention it, but I think it's pretty impressive that they actually have almost given the entire sort of, school to you in some sense, right, to conduct these experiments. I will definitely personally myself look at the YouTube channels that you talked about and see what they are doing. My own son is going through, a Sanskrit program right now, and they are doing it exactly the way you described, through languages, through activities, and he's having an amazing time. I'm pleasantly surprised actually at the amount of interest that the program has generated, despite not being in person, all everything being online. So that was again, very, very nice, wonderful. From the why of Sanskrit, Sanskrit, you've covered a lot of ground. One question before we let you, go, Sampaji, in the sense of having the next speaker, is, I really was amazed when you talked about creating new words and the flexibility of Sanskrit. Right? Everybody feels that Sanskrit is a fairly complicated language, and so therefore, for example, if I have to have a name for train in Sanskrit, people feel the only possibility is to call it Lohapath Gamini, which makes it fairly complicated. And if that is the only way that that we can have, then I think we can forget about creating a living language, right? It can't be so complicated. And I mean, I know you've been working on this, and several things about this. So can you give an example of creating a new word, just so that the entire audience comes to know how flexible Sanskrit is and how completely modern words from scientific to day-to-day usages can actually be coined in Sanskrit itself? Just one or two examples, Sampaji.
Yeah. So what happens is that because we are teaching to the children and the teachers are trained in a way that how they will bring Sanskrit as a living language, this is the most challenging aspect of teaching, that every day, the teachers face in the classroom this problem. Sir, what is parachute in Sanskrit? What is gorilla in Sanskrit? What is this in Sanskrit? What is the engine in Sanskrit? Every day. And sometimes the teachers manage, most of the times they don't know how to manage. So I get a call or the message that today these words came up. How should we address? So then I call a meeting of the teachers and then I explain them like how to create words immediately. There are certain tricks that we need to know. Our familiarity has to grow with the different root sounds. Then while creating a particular word, that we need to know the functionality, the different nature aspects, and the features of the object that is we are naming. So the name is, is done through that. So the different features. So for example, like they said, parachute. So what is the main function of parachute? So it is in the air, and it looks like a chhatra or umbrella kind of thing. Though chhatra is not umbrella, it's umbrella can be one of the meanings. So you can say, and it is in the sky. So there are a lot of possibilities that we see, and then a lot of the words we know. So if it is an umbrella in the sky, so we can make it kha-chatram, akasha-chatram, vayu-chatram, and every Indian knows all these words, can immediately link it. So for example, like once they asked what is dinosaurs in Sanskrit. Now, when we have something huge, just look at in that family what is the smallest one, because everyone will be familiar with the smallest one. So suppose the smallest one will be sarata, the chipkali, or even the chameleon will be the smallest in that family. So if sarata, I'm familiar with the word sarata, I can add the word bhima to it, make it bhima sarata. The dinosaurs, which bhima means huge, ferocious, bhima sarata. Suppose someone asks like what is camera? We can create plenty of words for camera. The main function of camera is to capture picture, image. So image is rupa, capturing is grahakam. Anything which captures is the grahakam. So you can create rupa grahakam for camera because it captures the image. That is the main function. The same way a microphone, it receives the sound. So you can make it dhvani grahakam. The transistor, or the, like what you call the amplifier, which amplifies the sound. So you can say dhvani vardhakam. So we need to understand the nature of the object, the functionality of it, and the most of the words we know because of our familiarity with the regional languages, and then little bit of familiarity with Sanskrit. Many Indians can create many words. Of course, for the highly technical words, we need to have expertise. Those who are expert, they can sit together and then decide what is to be done. Microscope. Here the scope is related with seeing, very keen observation. So you cannot just have darshanam. Darshan is a word which is more with the vision. So you cannot say sukshma, micro is sukshma, and darshana is vision. So sukshma darshanam or sukshma darshini. That may be a philosophical term, it's fine. But we have the word ikshanam. Ikshana word is used more in the sense of very penetrated, concentrated thing. That's why pariksha, anviksha, samiksha, samikshanam, parikshanam. So ikshanam. Okay. And micro can be anu. Anu is the minutest particle. So you create the word anu vikshanam, which is more appropriate for microscope than sukshma darshanam or sukshma darshan. Until we arrive at this, sukshma darshani is fine. But we need to have that appropriate, that must create that feeling of that, yes, this is a machine through which very minutest particles can be seen or observed. Anuvikshanam. So like this, a lot of things that we need to bring into consideration before creating a word, but immense possibilities. Sanskrit can produce any number of words needed, any number of words, and then
No,
we create
absolutely.
immediately.
Absolutely, sir.
I'll tell you the experience that like when my child was small, I used to, we decided that only when we go out, so weekly once we will speak only in Sanskrit. The whole conversation will be Sanskrit. And she says, okay. One day she says to me that okay, I accept this condition, but whatever I ask you, if you fail to give me the Sanskrit word, then I will stop speaking in Sanskrit. Right? So goes on, and then at one place she said, tell me what is polythene bag in Sanskrit. I have to create. So polythene, I related with plastic. Plastic is a namya, and then I just managed saying that okay, it is a namya syota. I managed because our conversation should continue. That's how, like we have to have that readiness. Whenever this something is asked, we need to create. Sometimes we fail also because it needs more deliberation, more, thinking about it, the right word, appropriate word. So then we will be able to do it.
No, and indeed, that's how words in all languages are also created. They
Yeah,
go to the
sure.
root, and that's how it is done. And I think that's exactly why it is. I think if we give a little bit of time and thought to it, it is straightforward for us as well. Because indeed, all our languages are so closely connected to Sanskrit.
Mhm.
Sometimes I feel if somebody were to just explain the rules of vibhaktis and some grammatical semantics, I think almost 90% of the Indians will be able to understand Sanskrit, right? Because the words are all here and there, known pretty much to a lot of people anyway. Of course, I mean, for further one needs more expertise, but and that's why your whole idea of combining these books where other Indian languages. I'm deliberately using Indian, not just regional, because all languages of ours are Indian languages, right? So other Indian languages can be combined with Sanskrit and vice versa. I think that integration is very easily possible just because of the way these languages have evolved. And I think maybe, who knows, if we actually do that, not only will it help us in propagating Sanskrit and in children understanding things better, but we might have created a new way and almost a new genre of writing books itself, right? Because no other country in the world actually needs that. We do need it. And maybe we would have created a new kind of, textbook for kids, right? Which combines several languages. And maybe through that, we'll also contribute to the process of learning itself to the rest of the world. But yeah, wonderful, Sampaji. My last point on this was I absolutely agree that things can be done without the government, and we will of course look forward to receiving your project idea. But I think maybe the government also will be willing to support, and if it does support, it can only improve our speed and reach and all of that. And we will of course reach out to the government as well. So thank you so much, Sampaji. Once again, it was lovely having you over, and we'll definitely look forward to engaging with you more. Uh, Now we move on to the next part of the webinar. Many of the audience members here are those who are there as a part of some higher educational institute, or sort of young people who are not exactly school teachers. And so we thought, let us get somebody who is already working in a higher education institute and doing interesting experiments about teaching Sanskrit and taking the message and the idea and the language itself of Sanskrit to people all over. And that's when we came across the Sanskrit Club of IIT Roorkee. And Dr. Anil Gurishapti is a colleague. The more I came to know of the Sanskrit Club, the more I realized, what the possibilities are and how almost each of the higher education institutions as a part of the Unnat Bharat Abhiyan, as well as beyond that, and even schools can actually learn from some of these activities and create such things as a part of the overall repertoire of their activities. I will introduce Anilji to sort of share his experiences of running the Sanskrit Club in IIT Roorkee. But before that, I just wanted to quickly introduce Dr. Anil Kumar Gurishapti. He is a faculty member in the Department of Physics at IIT Roorkee. His area of interests lie in experimental nuclear physics and, of course, Sanskrit. In physics, he works on Monte Carlo simulation of response of radiation detectors and characterization of radiation detectors. He's been running the Sanskrit Club for quite some time. At present, he's coordinating along with Samskrita Bharati, an online 5-level Sanskrit course called Subhashitam Sanskritam, which is helping thousands of participants, not just from Bharat, but from all across the world in learning Sanskrit. Professor Gauri Shetty has, in terms of his own technical area, done a PhD in nuclear physics, been invited to visit at various outside institutions for lectures, experiments, has several collaborations. He's also worked with TIFR. He's also reviewed several journals, which are all important as academics that we all do. He's also the secretary of Indian Physics Association. So all of this is there, and it's all extremely important. And I really love the kind of work that he's doing as a physicist. But I also absolutely adore the kind of work that is going on at IIT Roorkee in terms of the Sanskrit Club. So Anilji, over to you. But before that, one last thing is we are getting some requests on YouTube, etc., to do this thing in Sanskrit and not really use English. And my response to that really is, okay, we actually tried doing one such event in Sanskrit, and I can assure you, given the level of knowledge that people have, it is not really possible at this stage. It is probably my dream that maybe in 10 years we would be able to, or maybe 5 years we'd be able to do an event entirely in Sanskrit with such a large audience, etc. But at least right now we also have to be practical, and therefore it is important to really start from where we are and keep that as the overall aim of doing everything in Sanskrit or some Indian language. But with those remarks, Anilji, over to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor Bolia. I'm audible? Okay.
Yes, you are.
Yes,
Anilji.
yes, sir.
Thank you so much, and give me some time. Okay. Shubha Sandhya, Namah Sarvebhyah. I wholeheartedly thank Professor Nomesh Bolia and his wonderful organizing team of Naya Bharat E-Series for giving me this opportunity to participate in this Naya Bharat E-Series. It's really nice to know about UBA from Professor Vijay, and as usual, I feel honored to listen to Sampath-ji on various aspects of Sanskrit education, in particular at school level. As Professor Bolia has already informed, my expertise is basically nuclear physics, and my passion for Sanskrit started from my student days at IIT Kharagpur while I was doing MTech and PhD way back in 2004. So after that, I started doing one mandatory activity wherever I go. When I was in TFR in Poland for my research and coming back to Roorkee, when coming to Roorkee as a faculty member, generate interest for Sanskrit. One of the best ways is to organize spoken Sanskrit classes. Because first of all, you have to ensure that people have to come together, sit down, listen to it, then have some kind of environment to discuss, interact, spend some time. And the natural byproduct is you will develop the interest. And as Professor Boria told some of the persons in YouTube audience, they're saying, why can't we have purely in Sanskrit? But I think, as he rightly said, we have to be a bit practical also. And at present, the time demands to generate enough interest in Sanskrit for people to work on speaking, listening, reading, and writing. That will come later. So, because of my passion towards Sanskrit, so you can easily understand that I don't have expertise on Sanskrit knowledge systems that can be implemented in school education. But because of my association with the Sanskrit Club at IIT Roorkee as a faculty coordinator, and I feel really honored to get this opportunity to share the Sanskrit Club activities. And I am sure that some of the activities can be implemented at various higher education institutes and also at the school level to generate interest for Sanskrit among children. I very well know the attention span over webinar will be a bit less compared to seminars. So I assure you that I won't take much time. And as I'm presenting the overview of activities, it's quite natural that I'm going to mention a few experts working in Sanskrit and allied areas within India and abroad. And as already Sampath-ji has informed in detail the purpose of the Sanskrit, just
so Anilji, if I can interrupt you for just a minute, can you put this in full screen mode? Is it possible?
I don't know. I think for me it is in full screen mode. It is not?
It is full. I see. We can also see the notes and other things. It is
okay.
It's being split somehow.
Maybe just a minute. Okay.
Yeah.
Let me. Is it in full mode?
Yeah. Yes, I think better now. Yes.
Very nice. Very nice.
Yeah. Please. Sorry to.
That's perfect. Thanks for informing this. So, all problems of the existence are essentially problems of harmony. And I really believe in this statement given by Shri Aurobindo. And ever since dawn of human history, man has been actuated by a persistent dream of triple harmony within himself, between man and man. So, of course, it's not gender-based, it's a person to person, and I hope you understand. And harmony between a person and the world around him. But to the man of our epoch, all three basic harmonies have come to appear as so many vain and ineffectual dreams. So the problem of right conduct of a man towards his fellow beings has assumed a first importance in our epoch. And I strongly believe, based on the experience I have got after carrying out so many activities in the campus and working with a wonderful students team and guest speakers like Sampatji, I am sure Sanskrit will really help in addressing the problems of harmony. I will take only one example, how it can help in addressing the problems related to harmony. As I said, one of the best ways which I feel to generate the interest among youth or anyone for Sanskrit, first allow them to come together, sit together, listen to Sanskrit conversation. And whenever in IIT Roorkee we conduct this spoken Sanskrit classes, at the end of the day, when we take this feedback, it is compulsory we get this kind of feedback that even though we are in IIT, many times though we feel Indians, but many times it is some kind of part-time job. जब देश में कोई भूकंप आएगा तुरंत देशभक्ति जागृत होता है, जब कोई वार होगा कारगिल जैसे देशभक्ति जागृत होता है, तब हम पूरा देश एक तरफ आ जाते हैं, बट बाद में फिर इतना वो फायर नहीं रहता है. इवन इन IIT, I belong to Karnataka, I belong to Tamil Nadu, Andhra, I belong to Rajasthan, this, that. Inherently it is there. I'm not saying it is wrong. It's there, of course. I feel proud to belong to Warangal. Then I feel proud to belong to Telangana. And I feel proud to belong to, Bharat. There is absolutely no doubt. But once we are in Indian Institute of Technology, this kind of spoken classes have really generated amongst us that we belong to Bharat. When I do some kind of practice with my friend and there is no age and gender difference in the class, I feel that I'm connecting to a fellow Indian, not a person from other one. I'm not saying in normal lecture rooms, in other places, we have a strong regional feelings. Please don't take it like that. But the level of Indianness, that anubhuti, that experience is certainly more as per the feedback I have received from the participants of spoken Sanskrit classes. I'm sure this can be basis for the developing harmony among youth. So I strongly believe in this. And way back in 2015, officially the Sanskrit Club has been started in IIT Roorkee. And unofficially, we have started the activities in 2012. So we were fortunate to get the support from the authorities. And of course, the purpose is to promote Sanskrit language and explore how to connect Sanskrit-based knowledge systems to academics and research. But before that, we don't have any faculty in the campus. Even I am not an expert in Sanskrit, though I enjoy speaking in Sanskrit on several occasions. First of all, the enough general interest has to be generated among the students. So that is where activities comes into picture. And the first event which has really caught attention in the campus is Vedic mantra chanting in annual convocation ceremony. And for any university or institute, graduating ceremony is of utmost importance. That is the most important event for any institute, education institute. And I came to know that from 1960 or 70s, our institute is playing MP3 file on Taittiriya Upanishad when chief guest and other authorities comes to the convocation hall as procession. And from 2015, students have practiced this Ritam cha Swadhyaya Pravachanecha, which starts with the convocation Vedic chanting. And from 2015, regularly it is happening. And that has given us enough confidence that certainly students can be interested in promotion of Sanskrit. So the beauty of its meaning, especially the relation between a teacher and a student, was invariably missed. And after Sanskrit Club establishment, we display the meaning of this Vedic chanting, Taittiriya Upanishad, what is the purpose of Shiksha, how should be the relation between teacher and student. And because of that, some kind of awareness has been created in the campus. Till now, only we are listening just like that. We were not knowing its meaning. So Sanskrit Club facilitated the campus to know the meaning of Taittiriya Upanishad verses because of the Vedic chanting occasion during convocation ceremony. So this is one of the important activities in the campus. And whenever situation permits, I would like to address the activity to the purpose of this webinar, that is Sanskrit education school level. I am sure after +2 at school level, the graduation ceremony can be conducted, and the relevant portion from our scriptures can be utilized so that students can get the essence of our Sanskrit-based knowledge systems and scriptures. And of course, being academic and research institute, it is important to have several guest lectures. And we were fortunate to organize first guest lecture by none other than Professor K. Ramasubramanian, who established Cell for Science and Technology in Sanskrit in the Humanities and Social Sciences Department, IIT Bombay. So I hope the information related to the experts and research areas will be useful to some of the audience in this session. And he at length spoke on, did Indians invent calculus? He highlighted the achievements of Kerala School of Mathematics in field of calculus before Newton and Leibniz with proper references. And some of the information, of course, will be known to the audience, but just for the general perspective, I am covering some important aspects of the guest lectures. And in this guest lecture, he also highlighted the recursive relations for construction of sine table in Aryabhatiya and recursion relations provided by Nilakanta in his commentary. So that was really eye-opening for many, not only students, but also the faculty members of the institute. Then we realized the potential of guest lectures by experts working in Sanskrit and allied areas. And a lot of mathematical related concepts have been covered by him. And he has clearly debunked the claims that Greeks invented calculus and a discussion on biggest failure of Greek mathematics. Of course, giving due respect. And then we had a wonderful talk on science and technology in ancient India, Sanskrit-based knowledge systems by Michel Denino, who has successfully introduced courses on Indian knowledge systems at IIT Gandhinagar. And science in ancient India by looking Sanskrit-based knowledge systems and looking eminent ancient mathematicians and scientists across India by their birth map. So the audience are encouraged to listen to these lectures available for free in the YouTube. And Varahamira as a compiler, Brahmagupta as a creator, and his criticism on Aryabhata's work. So how works done by people have been commented by others and how they have been documented. And the information has been very beautifully narrated by Professor Michel Denino. And the lecture on surgery practices in ancient India by Professor Harish Chandra Verma, who is a recipient of Padma Shri, and who is very well known for his book on concepts of physics at +1, +2 level. And he has done immense work on promoting the science education at various levels and teacher training also. He has given wonderful talk based on a paper published in Nature. Those who are connected to academics, they know the importance of the journal Nature. It is almost #1 in the field of sciences. And way back in 2006, this paper was published based on which Professor H.C. Verma has given wonderful talk. And this is the lecture which was attended by most audience in the campus because students certainly like Professor H.C. Verma. And this tradition of surgery practices is at least 9 millennium old. And Professor H.C. Verma said how he got motivated to give this kind of talk, even though he is from physics background. Whenever he organizes any science education activities, students used to ask, sir, why all scientific discoveries made by Englishmen? Then that has motivated him to look into some of the authentic information available in the literature. Because many times we are under the impression that we are not made for science by showing several, incidents and photographs. And he has given wide, very useful information in the medical science. What is the contribution of Indians, our ancestors, in different fields? Of course, I will not go into the details. And cutting toothache with drills made from flint heads. And the tool used by Shushruta and his team was surprisingly effective at removing rotting dental tissue. And the procedure involved not just removal of the tooth structure by the drill, but also subsequent micro tool carving of the cavity wall by either the operator or the patient. And another paper published in Current Science, first evidence of brain surgery in Bronze Age in Harappa times, and where the authors have reported the first unequivocal case of ancient brain surgical practice known as trepanation observed 4300 years ago in Bronze Age Harappan skull. And he has given very nice literature, the reference of the legacy of Vagbhata, 6th century AD, which is a very popular text on medicine, including basic surgical operations. And of course, all of us have heard the name of Shushruta. voluminous work in Sushruta Samhita, and English translation is available in 3 volumes, which was edited by Kaviraj Kunjalal Bhisha Grantha. And of course, it is spread outside India. And first translation of Sushruta Samhita was done by Kitabi Sushrut by Abil Saibel in the 8th century AD. And Sushruta in his Sushrut Samhita has described 15 methods of joining these cut up earlobes called Karna Bandha. And all this wonderful information was covered, the endoscopes, tools used in this surgery practices, and the center of plastic surgery, that is Kan plus Gadha, जो हम use करते व्यवहारिक में, Kangara, and the British archaeologist has written about the tradition of Kangra plastic operations, and also the contribution of Indians in rhinoplasty, and surprisingly, so-called Kumar जिसको हम कहते हैं, so-called lower caste, the potters have immense contribution in making the tools for surgery practices in ancient times. Putting a nose 11 months after it was cut off, successfully done. And all this was very well documented in the book, an account of 2 successful operations for restoring a lost nose. And of course, Sushruta Samhita is an encyclopedia of medical science, and all these numbers are available in his lecture. Of course, I will not repeat them. So, absolutely, there is no doubt we had been the leaders in surgery. Let the tradition go on. Only thing is that we need awareness. And after that, we had wonderful guest lecture by R.N. Iyengar. He was the professor of metallurgical department at IIT Bengaluru. Right now, he is working at Jain University. Since his childhood, he developed interest in astronomy, and he has written wonderful book on Parashara Tantra. So we had very nice lecture on natural sciences and astronomy in ancient India, and a workshop was organized on this topic, and it was very well received by the students. So why I am saying all these things, because if you are interested, you can explore to invite these people on these various academic and research areas. And then we had Indic Mathematics and Computational Thinking Metaphor by Professor Kanchi Gopinath from Department of Computer Science, IIT Bengaluru, and the Dean of School of Vedic Sciences, Professor Sai Susarla. He has recently initiated some academic structure in that university, and I am glad to announce through this platform that one first QIP short-term course is going to be organized from 16th January next year on computational thinking in India. And all teachers of AICT colleges are most welcome, and the application to, the last date for application is 11th January. So this will give you an idea how computational thinking used to exist in our Sanskrit-based knowledge systems. And then we had a talk on mind, consciousness, and science by Puri Shankaracharya, basically Advaita Vedantic perspective. So he was going through our IIT Roorkee, so we had a session by him. And based on Kumbh Mela, there was one director, Harshit Jain, and we had screened a nice movie on Kumbh Jain and Mahakumbha, and what are the different aspects behind it. And one of the experts in Sanskrit, Professor Vivek Debroy, who is very well known for his contribution to economics, chairman of the Economic Advisory Council of the Prime Minister, he has given a wonderful talk on the demystifying Sanskrit. And based on the so-called Sanskrit effect, which has become a buzzword in academic circle, when James Hetzel has claimed that he noticed that more Sanskrit he studied and translated, the better his verbal memory seemed to become. And fellow students and teachers often remarked on his ability to exactly repeat lecturers' own sentences when asking them questions in class. Of course, the flavor was already highlighted by Sampatji. And other translators of Sanskrit told him of similar cognitive shifts. So he was naturally curious. Was there actually a language-specific Sanskrit effect as claimed by the tradition? And was there, okay, this is repeated, sorry for the inconvenience. And based on his studies, MRI scans show that memorizing ancient mantras increases the size of brain region associated with cognitive function. Theoretically, all of us, we are aware of this, there is no doubt. But he has done very interesting research. So those who are interested, they can go through it. And on this effect, Professor Anuradha Chaudhary, who has joined IIT Kharagpur as faculty of Sanskrit, has given nice guest lecture. And of course, we were honored to host a guest lecture by Sampatji on the relevance of Sanskrit. Of course, to generate some fun in the campus, students, they keep posting the jokes which are very popular in respective languages, so that they can develop interest in framing simple sentences like Tava Namakam, what is your name? Then North Korea president says Mama Namakim. So it requires simple attention and alertness to create such kind of jokes. So we keep ourselves entertaining by posting jokes frequently in the Facebook. And all of you might be aware that Sanskrit Week across the world is celebrated around Raksha Bandhan, plus or minus 3 days of a Raksha Bandhan for 7 days. So regularly we organize activities like Indic logic and reasoning and essay writing. Is Sanskrit a unifying factor in India? Topics like this. Or does Sanskrit has any relevance as an introductory or elective course in IIT system? And if some students, those who claim that we were good in Sanskrit during our school days, so we encourage them to come forward. Okay, speak for 1 minute, half minute, 2 minutes, and we give some nice cash prizes thanks to excellent support, from the authorities, and elocution competition. So through these activities, purely run by the students, we were able to attract few students, mainly from the first years. And as I said, Sanskrit Sambhashana Shibiram is one basis for all these activities. And like we give some problem statements. Is Arthashastra relevant in modern India? And those who reads from Google, because nowadays in Google everything is available. But we provide a platform, we provide occasion for people who read Indian knowledge systems individually to come to place and share their thoughts. And two interesting workshops we have organized. One is how to study Indic sources. Is it so easy? Of course not. There is a methodology. And there is a special method of inquiry from Indic perspective, method of inquiry, which is a source of, learning. So what is that method of inquiry? It was beautifully explained by Professor Srinivasa Varakhedi, who is now Vice Chancellor of Kavikula Guru Kalidasa Sanskrit University. At that time, he was a part of Karnataka Sanskrit University. And that has given us immense confidence to explore more from academic point of view. Then we also had a very interesting workshop on Indic logic and reasoning. I am sure this should be taken up at various levels of education, provided we know the basis of Indian Nyaya, logic and reasoning. Every day, many of us watch television. People used to debate each other on several topics. Is there any structure for that? Is there any basis? Or जो मन में आता है वो बोल देंगे. During Adi Shankaracharya time, Vada, Prativada, when Adi Shankaracharya had a discussion with Mandana Mishra, and then Udaya Bharati comes into picture, there used to be a structure to debate. Do we know basics of them? Of course not, because we are not aware of it. So when you sit for a debate, when a person is allowed to continue the debate or when he is out. So all those structural aspects of the Indian Nyaya and reasoning were beautifully explained in this workshop, and this was held with the help of MIT School of Vedic Sciences, Pune. And once we thought, let us have a logo for our Sanskrit club, and this is another opportunity for students to show their talent. Okay, so we have received a lot of entries, and we have finalized one this S, which is like a home symbol, and also SC Sanskrit club. So this has allowed few students to join the Sanskrit club. So we have to look for the opportunities so that students can show their skills and talents. And of course, we need some regular activities weekly, including Bhagavad Gita, understanding Pada Vicheda, how to analyze ourselves based on the knowledge that we are receiving through spoken Sanskrit classes. And now, as Professor Nomesh Bolia told, one of the events which has taken club to a next higher level is Subhashitam Sanskritam. Something dramatic thing happened after this corona, because we cannot organize this spoken Sanskrit classes physically. So we let us organize it online. And जब organize online कर ही रहे हैं, so let us make it open for people outside the IIT Roorkee also. And Fortunately, we have received 14,000 plus registrations across the world, and it is a very nice learning experience. It is a 5-level program, and already 4 levels are over. All those lectures are available for free in the YouTube channel of Sanskrit Club. Right now, 5th level is going on. The valedictory program is planned around Yuva Divas, National Youth Day 2021. Parallelly, we have initiated one lecture series in collaboration with SVS Pune, Shastra Setu, talks on Indian knowledge systems for budding professionals by professionals. So this is an initiative for science and engineering community to be acquainted with Indian Shastras and scientific thinking. As of now, IIT Shastra Setu talks have been organized on various topics, that is Vedic philosophy, psychology, contemporary relevance of IKS, Ayurveda, debating, reasoning, and some of the interesting numbers from this Subhastan Sanskritam. As I already told, around 40,000 plus registrations, and level 1 exam was cleared by 5,100 people. So we were not knowing how many people are attending, because YouTube live through WebEx only some limited number can be accommodated. So finally, from different domains of society, we are really glad that the purpose of education is it should be affordable for everyone in the society, for people from all domains, whoever is interested. So we have participants from housewives, some from business, from farmers, from students, from academicians. And this data is in front of you. And nearly 30 volunteers already engaged from the registrations group. So they are acting as active volunteers, more planned after level 5. And there is a plan for automating this course because already content is available. And based on this, many future courses are also planned. And it has got wide media coverage. And we are really happy to receive the encouragement from the Prime Minister of India also. And one of the important and interesting outcomes of this Subhastan Sanskritam, the student who cleared level 1, recently he got married and he printed his marriage invitation card in Sanskrit. So they get inspiration from the activities. So we are only giving options to the students, are we providing the environment? That is what is in our hands. And the level 1 valedictory function was attended by various experts around the world. And one of the important outcomes of this Subhastan Sanskritam, we could connect to like-minded faculty members and students in other institutions of national importance. And a group has been formed, Samarpanam, which is the acronym for Samskritaya Arpanam, to promote Sanskrit studies. And the launching happened with a conclave held on 27th of September. And many more programs are yet to be organized from Samarpanam platform. So people are uniting and gathering. Network is happening. So those who are interested to connect to this Samarpanam and also exploring to carry out Sanskrit and related activities in their campuses, they are most welcome to contact. And one of the fun activities which was recently held is the riddle chain, Richard. So A belongs to A, B, C, D, E. Some alphabets will be given, linking to Ramayana, Mahabharata, our mythology and our scriptures, which is normally known by every Indian. But they have to be alert. They have to do a lot of brain exercise, and including with the introduction and some surprise games. Recently, we had this event Trayaha, Trivaram Ascharyaha, and many students also came into contact. And many queries in the YouTube, I could see how technology can be utilized. And what is the use of Sanskrit? How can we combine with the technology? How can we generate the jobs? Very, very relevant question. Of course, we have to address this. But the change will not happen in one day. We have to keep on doing experiments. Keeping this in mind, I'm even to bring Sanskrit and technology together and develop web or mobile-based teaching aids, recreational games, and educational tools using or for Sanskrit. From 24th January, this hackathon, probably world's first hackathon in Sanskrit, in association with Entrepreneurship Cell IIT Roorkee and the Students Technical Council, and also Sanskrit Bharati Canada and USA chapters and Sanskrit Promotion Foundation. Around 170 teams have already started working on this. So we are looking forward to some interesting products to come up out of this Sanskritam hackathon. Maybe after second week of January, the results will be out. And we regularly conduct winter, mainly summer project works. This time we have started offering winter interns also. Students mainly from first year, second year, they will learn Sanskrit and in allied areas, whatever knowledge systems are there, under the supervision of experts at IIT Bombay, IIT Kanpur, IIT Kharagpur. And this time, Sampatji also is guiding 4 of our students in Safik, in content generation and in Dijavani radio also. So because of this, students will get opportunity to get exposed themselves to Sanskrit and its related knowledge systems. So this is one of the useful platforms whereby students are connecting to the club. And of course, we have library and books in various languages, mainly on Sanskrit. Mostly we try to bring the books related to academics and research because our core mandate is research. So, Ano Bhadraha Kratamayantu Vishwataha, with this motivation, we are going forward. Let noble thoughts come from all sides of the universe. And any suggestions and collaboration with Sanskrit Club from any educational institution from school level, they are most welcome. So I would like to add only a few points way forward. In my opinion, I believe that children at school level, because the purpose of this webinar is the Sanskrit at school education level, children can certainly put up quizzes on notice boards, or if schools are tech savvy, then run online quizzes. Nowadays, a lot of options are available online. So teachers can certainly help the students to put online quizzes. And as I said, can we recite our verses or shlokas available in the scriptures related to education during graduation ceremony? And also poster exhibition on the achievements documented in various domains of Sanskrit-based knowledge systems. And I take this opportunity to offer my thanks to the institute authorities, guest speakers of lectures and workshops, and student volunteers, from whom I learned a lot. I always feel recharged myself. Many alumni volunteers like Akshay, Sonali, Rishabh, Mrigank, Mihir, Rahul, Gargi, and our project manager Shri Arun Mampaji, who is instilling a lot of confidence among our student volunteers, and Shri Vishwajit Pramanik, who is teaching the 3rd, 4th, 5th level of Subhashitam Sanskritam. And as I told initially, we started our activities way back in 2012. When no one was there, we used to conduct spoken classes with 1 or 2 students with the help of local Karyakarta of Sanskrit Bharati, Narendra Pandeyji and Bhuvanji, and teachers of Sanskrit, Vishnu Gaur, and Sanskrit Bharati Karyakarta Naval Pant. And these photographs belongs to our present student volunteers and many more volunteers whose names I could not take here. So I sincerely thank all the student volunteers for their active participation in the Sanskrit Club and its motive. So we are trying to reach as many people as possible. Just because of this Subhashitam Sanskritam, we are able to reach many people across the world. Dhanyavadaha. Many thanks to the audience for your patience and the organizers of Naya Bharat series. Thank you so much to one and all. Dhanyavadaha.
Thank you, Professor Anil, for sharing such great activities that are being held at IIT. And we do have few questions. Let me begin with one. It is, can you share your thoughts on the role of Sanskrit in achieving social harmony?
Yeah, as I've told, Sanskrit, because it is a mother of almost all languages of Bharat, when you try to use the Sanskrit shlokas or verses every day with your family members, for example, I can share my own experience. Before sleeping with my kids and family members, I recite simply Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinaha. That every time reminds me when I speak to my colleague from different states, the ownness level I feel more. Okay, I think that is the basis of harmony. And as I said, during spoken Sanskrit classes, when students are sitting and listening Sanskrit, which has produced all these local languages, because one of the important application, language really plays very crucial role in the personality development. Okay, and many people share this experience whenever they spoken Sanskrit classes are organized in USA, Europe also, same kind of feedback we receive. So language, when we know that our mother tongue, like Telugu, is from Sanskrit. And when people from different local languages meet together and tries conversation in Sanskrit regularly, there is no doubt it is not measurable, but one can really feel the level of harmony. And many Sanskrit simple sentences connect to the nature in a positive way. Mata Bhumihi, Mata Prithvi, Putroham Prithivyaha. Very simple sentence. This earth is my mother and I am her son, her daughter. I mean, this itself is sufficient. What kind of a responsibility I owe towards the nature and motherland, right? So this will give us insight the world view from Indian side. And of course, this will play important role in developing the harmony.
Can we please have the next question?
Namaste, sir. I'm
Namaste.
Shivam, and I have a question for you that how technology can help to promote Sanskrit in school education?
Sorry, can you repeat? First word I use. How?
How technology can help
Technology.
in school education? Yes, sir. To promote education.
I think one has to do many experiments. As I shared in the way forward, already Sampaji has highlighted many things. And at the ground level, he is doing many experiments. Just to add one thing, technology-wise, there are many apps. So maybe teachers can design few tutorials based on sounds and also stories in Sanskrit, which are covered in the school literature, and designing the quizzes using the online apps. I think that is one of the effective ways where technology can help to generate interest among school children for Sanskrit. But many more I am also yet to explore.
Thank you, sir.
Can we please have the next question?
Good evening, sir. My question for you is, what are the major challenges to be addressed on a priority basis while promoting Sanskrit in general? Thank you.
What is the priority you are saying, right? While promoting Sanskrit, what is the priority you are saying? Okay.
Yes.
Good. To keep the energy levels in a threshold level. Because students and faculty, including me, our primary job is to teach courses in our respective fields and carrying out research and doing administration. In this scenario, when we don't have full-fledged faculty, especially in places like IIT Roorkee, of course in IIT Bombay, IIT Madras, IIT Kharagpur, IISER Pune, we have faculty members who are fully working in Sanskrit-based knowledge systems. The priority which I try to manage with the help of my student volunteers is be in regular contact with each other and try to speak as many words as possible in your daily life. For example, when you call your friend, at least your club volunteer, simply say Namo Namaha, nothing more. And I'm glad to inform you that in my department also, ये आदत हो गया है. जब भी मैं कोलीग से मिलता हूँ सिंपली मैं नमा नमा कहता हूँ. वो कैसे स्टार्ट हुई किसी को पता नहीं. और मेरे कोलीग भी मुझे इतना ही आनंद से नमो नमा कहते हैं. एंड बाद में कभी हाय हेलो होता ही भी नहीं है. प्लीज डोंट टेक लाइक हाय हेलो गलत है. ओके, मेनी टाइम्स वी फील दैट संस्कृत के ऊपर बात कर रहे हैं तो आप अंग्रेजी के प्रति इतना घृणा क्यों करते हैं. इट्स कंप्लीटली नेगेटिव थिंकिंग आई थिंक, राइट. आई एम इन फेवर ऑफ संस्कृत. आई एम नॉट टू अगेंस्ट टू एनी लैंग्वेज एंड वी शुड नॉट आल्सो, बिकॉज हर एक भाषा अपने आप में इतना महान होती है. देयर इज नो नीड टू हाईलाइट दैट एस्पेक्ट, राइट. So priority is to maintain the regular contacts between the students when lot of academic pressure is there. 3 महीने समर वेकेशन है, 1 महीना विंटर वेकेशन है, फिर एग्जाम्स है, असाइनमेंट्स है. So in this tight schedule, priority I normally give for maintaining regular relation and try to converse as much as possible.
So one more question is from YouTube.
Yeah.
Is it not difficult for the child to learn regional language, national language, English and Sanskrit language at the primary level?
So at the primary level, you are saying it is difficult to
That is it not difficult for the child to learn these many languages at the primary level?
Okay. In my personal opinion, I mean, at least with my kids, when I interact them, it is for sure. After, say 8 or 9 years, they are capable of picking up at least 3 languages. At least. And अगर घर में थोड़ा थोड़ा भी आप संस्कृत फ्लेवर देंगे ना, वो 4th लैंग्वेज भी आ जाएगा. एटलीस्ट इन माय होम माय चिल्ड्रन स्पीक्स इन हिंदी बिकॉज बहुत सारे दोस्त हिंदी में बात करते हैं. इंग्लिश बिकॉज मीडियम ऑफ इंस्ट्रक्शन इन स्कूल इज इंग्लिश. And then at home we speak in Telugu. But during our regular pujas or some other traditions, we try to inculcate as much as possible the Sanskrit one. So we should not pressurize them. Make an environment where they feel comfortable. Because there is no syllabus that 3rd language, 4th language you have to reach up to this level. So answering to your question, I don't think it is very difficult. They have a lot of grasping skills. We should know how to present the language in front of them in a enjoyable and easy manner.
Okay. Any further questions, Chika?
No, sir. No more questions.
Okay, wonderful. So great, Anilji. Thank you so much for this wonderful sharing of what the Sanskrit Club has been doing at IIT Roorkee. We really wanted a sort of grounds up session where people connect with what they can do. It is one thing to understand what should be done, but when it comes to what they can do, I think experiences like these are extremely valuable. So thank you very much. Overall, I think what we've accomplished in the webinar today is, a whole bunch of things. But of course, before I get into that, I just want to inform the entire audience that, both Anilji and Sampatji, IIT Roorkee and Safik, well known. They're connected to us. So if any of you want to reach out, if you want to take their support, I'm sure they will be, happy to support, and we'll be very happy to connect them with you to facilitate and guide and do anything that you'd like to do based on whatever you could have learned from this webinar as well as from their websites. So very happy to facilitate and connect. And so then we, come to the end of this webinar. What we have done today is essentially talked about a whole bunch of things on why it is important to learn Sanskrit, especially for school children. Not just restricted to them, of course, but especially for school children. About how it connects to our identity, about how it can connect to the various knowledge systems that are there, our heritage that is there in this land, about how even going forward, not necessarily looking into the past, what are some of the insights that Sanskrit knowledge can offer to us. One example, of course, that was given by Anilji in his presentation, where he showed how one can do debating in a more systematic way. Actually, I have been through some such sessions myself, and it's quite remarkable how the art of debating can be much more than what we usually see in school competitions, as well as, of course, on TV, in terms of TV debates. So the entire sort of game of conducting these debates can change, and if you are able to do that for kids, of course, we play a significant role in helping them being aggressive and taking their point of view forward. So, I mean, that is just one example, but beyond that, there are, I'm sure, once we give it enough time and once we develop enough interest, commit some resources, there are other insights that can come up for the future as well, inspired by the past, but how things can be useful for India and for the rest of the world in the future. So we So that was the why part. Of course, Sampatji also talked about how inner development, overall development of children can be significantly facilitated. Many of their faculties, such as imagination, creativity, logical skills, can be facilitated if children are given exposure to Sanskrit from the beginning in a fun way, of course, not just as one more subject which they have to learn somehow by rote or memorization or whatever. We also talked about how it can be taught more effectively. One in the school level through a formal curricular framework, which is enjoyable as well as effective. Sampatji talked in detail about that, and of course, a lot of such resources are available. Uh, we also, through Anilji's presentation, learned how some of these things can be done in a little more informal manner, in a more sort of club manner, right? Running a Sanskrit club sort of a thing, where we do a whole bunch of activities to keep people's interest generated, to engage volunteers, to generate that basic energy that is there so that people can sort of, go forward with this. Uh, so we talked about the why part, we talked about the how part, and while talking about the what part, we, like Anilji's presentation talked about, we also learned how, I as an individual, what I as an individual can do right now. Little things, I think they matter, and they can really help the cause of taking Sanskrit to people as well as those people themselves through learning Sanskrit. If we want to take this forward, of course, there are many other ways, ranging from volunteering to more sort of professional activities. There's a whole bunch of things that can be done. And I do really hope that some of you at least are able to take it forward that way. So with that summary, we come to the end of this webinar. I would really like to thank our speakers for being there and patiently answering all the questions as well as presenting their experiences and thoughts. Just some quick data, actually. Sanskrit is maybe the least spoken language in India right now, but it is far from being done and dusted. As the latest census of 2011, it shows that Sanskrit has earned about 10,000 new speakers in a span of 10 years, so a growth of 71%. 24,821 people have registered Sanskrit as their mother tongue in Bharat in 2011, in comparison to 14,135. So from 14,000 odd to 24,000 odd, 14,000 in the 2001 census and 24,000 in the 2011 census. We really have come some way in letting Sanskrit trickle down to the masses of our country. Of course, this is still a very small percentage, and with the help of all of you, the experts, as well as everybody else in the audience, I'm sure we will be able to take this forward. I would also like to introduce the topic of the next webinar, which is going to be held on the 14th of January. That is based on science and experiments. It is titled The Power of Science Experiments. Quite an exciting webinar, I would say, where you will all be able to see Professor H.C. Verma. As Anilji already pointed out, he's a very well-respected, well-loved person, particularly among school children who are in the 10th, 11th, 12th standard range. His book is very famous. People who clear JEE, they almost consider him a demigod. So he will be here. Professor H.C. Verma will talk about the power of science experiments. We will have a teacher who will talk about how she has been conducting science experiments and how the understanding as well as the whole outlook of students towards science has changed based on some of the experiments that she has conducted in a school. So, like I said already, the effort is to really bring up some of these experiments and individuals who have worked on the ground to sort of see what can happen. And she will narrate her experience of working in a school in terms of science experiments. We will also launch, some science kits that we have been developing in collaboration with Professor H.C. Verma. The beauty of these kits is that they are entirely aligned with the CBSE curriculum. So it is almost like one box for one grade. If you're concerned, if you're a school or a school teacher and you're concerned about how science can be made better and how it can be made more intuitive through experiments, but you're constantly worried about the curriculum, I think this kit can be really useful. Because it is entirely aligned and you can almost take out a box, use that box for the entire year. It gives you an assurance that the curriculum is not mixed, but at the same time, science is made more interesting. It is also based and made from fairly simple material, all things that you can find around you. We will launch that kid, Dr. Chidambaram, who's the former principal scientific advisor of the government of India, will be there for the launch. Professor H.C. Verma, of course, will be there. So that's the next webinar, the power of science experiments and the launch of science kits that we have developed. These science kits will, of course, be available for people. We would be very happy to share how to use them, how to make them, all of that. All free, of course, as a part of the subject expert group of Unnat Bharat Abhiyan. So that's about the next topic. We finally moved towards the end of this webinar, and this day can't end without a big thank you to all the speakers who graced this webinar today. Professor V.K. Vijay, the National Coordinator, Dr. Sampadanand Mishra, and of course Professor Anil Gurishapti for taking out the time and sharing their experiences. I would also like to thank everybody else who has made this webinar possible, the IIT Delhi administration, so many other people from the Unnat Bharat Abhiyan team that have been constantly available for support. And last but definitely not the least, our organizing team. They've worked quite hard. One doesn't really realize, be participating in a webinar, what all goes behind executing, even though there is no real in-person connection. But believe me, it's fairly hard. A lot of things to worry about when you conduct a webinar, and our team has been through it. So thank you very much, all of that. I request you to please stay up to date and feel free to share your suggestions, questions, or queries on our social media handles, on Naya Bharat social media handles. It's there on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, as well as our website. All of those details are there in the flyer that you would have seen. Before we conclude our day, I think given that we are looking at a whole list of topics, right, quite wide variety of topics, I would like to end this webinar, with a saying. I don't know who said it, but I really liked it, and so I'd like to use that. It says that the world is not made of shades of gray. It is made of colors like azure and coral and emerald and marigold, right? But the world sometimes, at least some people, they insist on painting everything in black and white and fitting it into boxes that it understands. The quote says, do not do that to yourself. Paint your personality a million different colors. Leave the rest of the world scratching their heads if they're not sure of how to handle your magical personality. So with that, I officially declare the closure of the webinar. Look forward to seeing you on the 14th of January. Thank you. Namaste.
Thank you. Dhanyavad.